Good evening and welcome to the City of Boynton Beach City Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, and the time is 6 p.m. We will now turn to the city clerk for roll call.
Mayor Shelton,
Present.
Vice Mayor Hay,
Present.
Commissioner Cruz,
Present.
Commissioner Turkin,
Present.
Commissioner Kelly.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Maylee. Vice Mayor will lead our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Let's all stand for the invocation and pledge.
Come on. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us together this evening in a spirit of service and unity. As we enter the month of November, we pause to honor the caregivers, those who give their time, energy, and love to care for others. Strengthen them, Lord, and bless them for their selfless hearts. We also thank you for this season of Thanksgiving, a time to reflect on your goodness and the many blessings you bestowed upon this city. Now, Lord, we ask your continued favor upon our mayor, my fellow commissioners, our city manager, and all city staff. Grant us wisdom, compassion, and courage to serve the people of Boynton Beach with integrity and grace. For it's in the name of Jesus that we do pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We are now moving on to the agenda approval, additions, deletions, and corrections. Let's begin to my left with Commissioner Turkin. Do you have any?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to ask staff, or maybe add a future agenda item regarding our code with little libraries and pantries. I know I had a conversation with staff today about some concerns. I can definitely appreciate and understand the concerns regarding pantries and food and Department of Health. But I'd like staff to do a little bit more research, if that is justified, with consensus amongst this body, to see what that looks like.
Agree.
Yeah,
No problem.
yeah, I support that.
Yes, I
I've
support
been
it.
talking about this topic since Thursday with staff and residents, so I support that and I'm good to go on that.
Do you guys want that item added to the future agenda as a discussion item when we bring back what we
After
have
there's
as
some
far as,
research,
as
yeah,
far as
would be good.
options?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then everything else is just informational, so I'll save that in for later.
Okay. Commissioner Kelly?
No, I do not have any,
Vice
thank
Mayor
you.
Hay?
No, I do not have any.
Commissioner Cruz?
No, I do agree with Commissioner Turkin on bringing that item up for discussion, and I also wanted to add, if we could see what other municipalities are doing, other cities as well. Thank you.
Great. If there's nothing else, do we have a motion to approve the
So
agenda?
move.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda by Vice Mayor Hay and the second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to informational items by the members of the City Commission. Let's begin on the right with Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you very much. No, I just wanted to take a moment to thank our city manager, our deputy city manager, Andrew Mack, Adam Temple, Candace from Code Enforcement for going above and beyond this last few weeks. We've had a lot of issues in my district, and I really want to thank staff for going above and beyond. And really just, I've been very impressed, so I just wanted to say thank you.
Vice Mayor Hay.
I too would like to thank Andrew and staff for the work that they are assisting me in District 2, as well as the great Pirate Fest that we had was just outstanding. Many people were just having a great time dressed in the costumes, and it's just a fun time to have. And I just wish that we will continue to have that because people from many cities were here other than just Boynton, but that's okay. The more the merrier. But we had a great time and just staff, job well done.
Yeah, we
Just
had,
keep up.
I think we had 6 or 7 different events.
Yes.
6 or 7.
Okay. What was the total? Do you have an estimate, Dan, since you know everything?
At 6,700.
Do you have an estimate on how many were there?
At least 6 or 7. 100.
That's an inside joke. We'll tell you about it later. Thank you.
No problem. Commissioner Kelly, do you have anything?
No, just to piggyback about Pirate Fest, I just wanted to thank all of the staff in the city because all of the departments really work hard to make that a success. And I just thank, our new events director started the week of Pirate Fest, and she jumped in. She jumped right in and was there into the late hours and early morning with all the rest of the staff. And so I just wanted to thank everyone for really coming together. It was, I was there I popped in on Sunday, but I was there all day Saturday, and it was a well-attended, very successful, smooth-running event. So just thank you to everyone who worked on that event and pulled it all together. So thank you.
Great. Commissioner Turkin?
Dittos on Pirate Fest, and, great turnout. I want to take a moment and thank the police chief and city manager for making sure that there was extra patrol this Halloween in the Chapel Hill neighborhood. I know there's a plethora of feedback via Facebook forums citing that this was, the safest that residents have felt, over the last 2 decades, right? And so I think we definitely deserve a big kudos to our police department. The officers were super interactive with the families, handing out candy, receiving candy, maybe instead of coffee this year. And, I'm just super grateful that the police department, the city manager's office listened to the residents' needs in that neighborhood. And then I also want to take time to thank, Andrew's not here. Big kudos to Andrew, city manager's office, Fabian, Craig, everyone who had a hand in the development of the Rest of the Fish project. That was a huge turnout. I spoke with Reed, the owner, and they had over 600 people attend the grand opening this past Sunday. And, a lot of individuals who are looking to expand their businesses or move their businesses are looking at Boynton. And I ran into 2 or 3 individuals that are looking to partner with the city. And so I think this is a great example of how when you work with the private sector and branding, not only does that create a synergistic relationship, but also creates and fosters a huge environment for economic development and expansion in our city. And then lastly, since we won't be here next Tuesday, I just want to recognize all the veterans in our community, in our city. I know Commissioner Kelly's husband, Mike, he's a Marine veteran. We have Adam Temple, Navy veteran, yeah. And unfortunately, Dan Duggar, Army, everyone makes mistakes, that's okay. Everyone in the audience, I just want to take a moment and, thank all these gentlemen and all the men and women, not just in the community, but in our city too, that are veterans. And so thank you again for all your service and your sacrifice to our country. And I ask everyone to just join me in a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on to the announcements and presentations. The first proclamation is for Family Caregivers Month and was requested by Vice Mayor Hay. The proclamation will be accepted by Ricky Petty, the Project Director for Healthier Boynton Beach. Vice Mayor, please go ahead and read the proclamation into the record.
Thank you, Mayor. City of Boynton Beach proclamation, whereas November is designated as National Family Caregivers Month, a time to acknowledge the vital contributions of family caregivers who provide essential care and support to loved ones managing chronic conditions, disabilities, and the challenges of ages. And whereas over 53 million adults and over 5.4 million youth family caregivers in the United States are under-acknowledged backbone of the nation's long-term care system by providing daily assistance to manage health and personal care, thus enabling their loved ones to stay in their homes longer. And whereas family caregivers are the cornerstone of compassionate care, offering physical, emotional, and often financial support, many times at great personal sacrifice to ensure their loved ones can maintain their dignity, health, and well-being. Whereas Healthier Boynton Beach, a community-driven health initiative committed to improving the health and well-being of Boynton Beach residents, stand with family caregivers, advocating for greater awareness, resources, and support to ensure they have the tools and assistance they need to care for their loved ones while maintaining their own health and well-being. And whereas it is important to recognize the many contributions of family caregivers and encourage our communities, health providers, employers, and others to support their invaluable efforts. Now, therefore, I, Vice Mayor Woodrow Hay, and Mayor Rebecca Shelton of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim November 2025 as National Family Health Care Month, encouraging all residents to recognize the individual contributions of family caregivers and to advocate for programs and policies that support them in their caregiving journey. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, to be affixed at Boynton Beach, Florida, the 4th day of November, 2025. Will Ricky Petty and others please come forward? Some of you on this side too, come on. All right. Come on. Okay? All right.
All right. Good evening, City Manager, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioner. On behalf of the Pathways to Prosperity and Healthier Boynton Beach and our community of caregivers, we would like to say thank you for this proclamation recognizing National Family Caregivers Month. Tonight belongs to the thousands of caregivers, the spouses, adult children, youth caregivers, grandparents, and neighbors who lift our loved ones up every single day with courage, patience, and love. Caregiving is often quiet work. It happens after a full day shift, in the middle of the night, in spaces where no one is watching. Yet, these families keep it together. They keep on going, making the sacrifices to ensure that their loved ones are safe. Healthier Boynton Beach is a resident-led, community-driven initiative, and our goal is to improve the lives of family caregivers. We've been doing a lot of great work in the community over the last several years. This opportunity led to some even greater opportunity. We applied for a grant last year with the CVS Foundation, and we were fortunate enough to receive a $1 million grant over the course of 5 years. Now, with this grant, they awarded 4 different cities with this grant. They awarded the city of New York City, they awarded Chicago, they awarded the city of Atlanta, and the city of Boynton Beach.
Wow. All right. Boynton is on the map.
So we're really putting Boynton Beach on the map in a very positive way, doing some great work in our community. So we ask that you continue to support Healthier Boynton Beach and our efforts. I want to say thank you to the city for being a continued partner, and also the other community partners that we have throughout the community to ensure that we continue to work and continue to uplift our community. And with this grant that we have with the CVS Foundation, it allows us to enhance what we're doing with caregivers. However, with focus on the 60-plus population, so the aging population. So we're very fortunate for that opportunity, and we look forward to continue this work. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Outstanding, outstanding. Fantastic. Adam.
The next proclamation is for the Links at Boynton Beach PGA Hope Program Day, and was requested by Commissioner Turkin. The proclamation will be accepted by Samuel Preston, Golf Course Division Director. Commissioner Turkin, please go ahead and read the proclamation into the record.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mayor. For those who don't know about the PGA Hope program, I'm going to go over that briefly. I am a current participant, and I've learned 2 things about this program so far. One, I'm a much better fisherman than I am golfer. And 2, it's a program that truly supports and creates a sense of camaraderie that you can only find, I believe, within the service. And transitioning from active duty to the reserves, I'm fortunate that I have some of those sailors that I've served with in that program, some people I know, and I can only imagine for those who maybe feel individualized or like they've lost that sense of camaraderie, how effective this program can be. And how much Bo and Trish and the whole team have really put into this program. It is something special, and I encourage all of my colleagues to check it out. They're finishing up next Thursday, and I'm not sure when the next one is. I'm sure Bo will go over that. I know the mayor had attended one of the sessions, and it's just a great program that this city should be extremely proud of to get behind. So with that said, whereas the PGA has established the PGA Hope program, helping our patriots everywhere, as its flagship military initiative to introduce golf to veterans and active duty service members as a means of enhancing their physical, mental, social, and emotional well-being. And whereas the Links at Boynton Beach PGA Hope program provides free, adaptive golf instruction conducted by PGA certified professionals, creating a therapeutic outlet that fosters camaraderie, confidence, and community among participants of all backgrounds and abilities. And whereas the Links at Boynton Beach PGA Hope program has become a model of excellence and growth in the region, extending from just 13 original members to over 150 active participants, demonstrating the power of sport, mentorship, and fellowship in the successful reintegration of veterans into civilian life. And whereas the city of Boynton Beach is proud to celebrate this local program's extraordinary impact, uniting veterans, community leaders, and volunteers under a shared commitment to healing and service to the game of golf. And whereas the Boynton Beach City Commission recognizes the invaluable contribution of PGA Hope in promoting inclusion, resilience, and purpose for our nation's heroes, while also showcasing the spirit of community that defines Boynton Beach. Now, therefore, I, Commissioner Turkin, and Mayor Rebecca Shelton of the city of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim November 4th, 2025 as the Links at Boynton Beach PGA Hope Program Day, and encourage all residents to join in recognizing the PGA Hope program, its coaches, volunteers, and veteran participants for their dedication, perseverance, and service to our community and country. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Boynton Beach, Florida, to be affixed at Boynton Beach the 4th day of November, 2025. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, man, tell people in the back.
Suck it in. We look athletic that way.
Mayor, Vice Mayor. Oh, that's what they all say. Better? Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, city managers, everybody in the city of Boynton Beach. The veterans behind me are what make this program what it is. My staff are trained professionals, but it's in their heart. It's in their heart. As Commissioner Turkin has noticed, we care. The city of Boynton Beach has been incredibly supportive of this program. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do. Mayor was out there hitting golf balls, and Commissioner Turkin, you're right, you're a better fisherman than you are a golfer. But we can fix that. Well, we're working. It's a long process for some. But I want to let you know that the PGA Hope program, helping our patrons everywhere, the tagline for the PGA of America is it changes lives. But I can also assure you from personal experience that it also saves lives. My wife is an absolute example of that. There's several gentlemen behind me and that can attest to that as well. I do want to honor every single person that came in today with their PGA Hope gear on. There's so many more that this city has to reach. We still haven't gotten Mr. Duggar or Mr. Temple into the program, but they have assured me that they're going to take some time off to get there. So this program is absolutely amazing. We love doing it. I have a fantastic staff, and I do want to thank you so much, the city of Boynton Beach, for doing what you do and supporting us in our efforts. It doesn't go unnoticed, and all 153 members of our league want to thank you so much for your support and your belief in our program. Thank you.
Great. Moving on to the tourism presentation by Discover the Palm Beaches. Commissioner Cruz, would you like to introduce the item? Or the presentation will be given by Sergio Piedra? That's what it has.
There? Do we have the presentation?
Sergio? Yeah, the Senior Director of Intergovernmental Affairs for Discover the Palm Beaches.
Okay. Hello, good evening. Sergio Piedra, Senior Director, Discover the Palm Beaches. We're happy to bring our tourism roadshow to Boynton Beach at the invitation of Commissioner Cruz. So Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, members of the staff, and everybody else who's out there listening, put it that way, we are happy, like I said, to bring our tourism roadshow, which we've been doing the last couple of years, to Boynton Beach. It's a short kind of roundup of what's happening in tourism, but also what is happening here in Boynton Beach specifically. And let me see if I can get this to go. Again, we're Discover the Palm Beaches. We're the official tourism marketing agency for Palm Beach County. We're under the umbrella of the Tourist Development Council, along with our sister agencies, you may know them, the Cultural Council, Sports Commission, Film and TV Commission. And we're funded through the 6% bed tax. It goes on overnight stays at hotels, but also shared lodging. So that's how we get our funding, very importantly. And then, you know, Boynton Beach is our story just as much as it is everybody else's story. It's one of our major tourism hubs, and we treat Boynton Beach like a star player on this team. And not just because it's right, because you have a beach or something like that, which is our #1 asset we have in the Palm Beaches, but also events like Pirate Fest. And there's also a terrific dining scene, and so forth and so forth. So Boynton Beach figures into our puzzle very neatly. So thank you for all the efforts you're doing. And that, so much so that this coming year in 2026, you're going to see a city collection campaign specifically targeting our 11 major cities. Boynton Beach is going to be one of those. So more to come on that in 2026. We'll be happy to come back next year and tell you how that all wrapped up. But you'll see one of our ads right now, kind of a mock-up of what's Boynton Beach is going to look like. So, but to kind of give you an idea of what's happening specifically in Boynton Beach, let me bring my colleague up, Gustav.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Gustav Weibel. I'm the SVP of Research at Discover the Palm Beaches, and I am a Boynton Beach resident, and I love Boynton Beach. My son had his birthday party here at the Children's Museum a couple years ago, so definitely love this area. Before I get into the Boynton Beach trends, I want to just sort of set the county-wide trends so you have some perspective. So in Palm Beach County, the Palm Beaches, we had 9.9 million visitors in 2024. We sell about 5 million hotel room nights annually, and visitors spend $7.2 billion directly, and the total economic impact of the industry is $10.5 billion for the county. So how is Boynton Beach fare in this? So here is visitation to the city of Boynton Beach. These are the city limits of Boynton Beach. I put we have 23 and 24 in there. You see there's a little bit of dip in there, about 250,000 visitors annually, but you can see when you look at the January through September numbers for the last few years there, we're ticking back up to those 2023 levels. This represents about 2 to 3% of the total visitation within the county. Here are the hotels in here. So these are the hotels in the city of Boynton Beach in here. It's about 4% of the total hotel rooms in the county. There's about 20,000 hotels total in the county. Pull into here the hotel performance. So we can isolate just these group of hotels that you saw in there and how their occupancy, ADR, which is the average daily room rate, and RevPAR, this is the combination of occupancy and ADR. This is what the hoteliers really look at to see how both those metrics are kind of moving the needle. You can see that the very healthy occupancies in there in the 70%, 75% range in there. Again, as you saw with the visitation, down 24 so far in 25, and this is the last rolling 12 months on here. So those Septembers are from October through September, annual 12-month data points. And you can see that the total room nights sold matches closely with the total number of visitors in there. As Sergio mentioned with the cities campaign, we went through and thought about how we wanted to target the major cities, and Boynton Beach is one of our key cities in the county. There's different demographic makeup. So this slide represents the different kinds of segments each city in here. So we have Palm Beach County as the first block there, and you can see some of those segments are a little bit different in how Boynton Beach compared to the county and some other of the cities in there. And I say that Boynton Beach has a much more diverse sort of mix of visitors compared to some other cities within the county. What do these really mean? This is the total visitation numbers, or the percentage of these segments in here for Boynton Beach, kind of ranked in what's top to bottom. And what do these truly mean is here's a table so you can get some context of what some of the demographic makeups on there. So you see a lot of high income, moderate incomes, families, singles, older, younger. So it's a very, very healthy mix. And we're gonna use this information, how we're gonna target specifically the Boynton Beach City Collection to these visitors so you can maximize on that instead of just targeting regular to the overall countywide demographics. And lastly, I want to talk about resident sentiment. So we just finished a resident sentiment study. We surveyed about 800 Palm Beach County residents. We asked which city they live in, and I pulled out the Boynton Beach numbers in here. You can see there is a little bit of declines from 24 to 25. One thing that I will say is when we started doing this roadshow, some of the cities that we did last year, we weren't able to come here last year. Those cities did have an improvement. So everyone here watching in the audience in here, hopefully you got some insight into the value of tourism to the county and to your city. And we can see those numbers improve next year. Lastly, this is sort of our scorecard on how visitors, our residents think about us and sort of supporting tourism promotion, welcoming visitors. You can see that 70+% overall here are very supportive of what we do and sort of driving the economy, the visitor economy. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Sergio to close.
Thank you, Gustav. And Gustav always has the most interesting numbers there. But I just want to kind of close up by talking about destination stewardship. This is something you'll see more of in 2026, is that we are, yes, we're always going to be a sales and marketing agencies promoting the county, the cities, and everything there is to do here in this incredible destination we have here. But we also want to be a very community-focused organization. We want to serve the residents just as much as we serve the visitors. That community does come first for us, and that we are always willing to talk with everyone. Talking to everyone doesn't work until it does. And that's the way we feel, that if there's an organization out there, nonprofits, community groups, chambers, cities, government agencies, whatever it might be, we're always willing to sit down and talk tourism and explain how tourism ignites the local economy. And that our organization, as it is right now, is very forward-thinking, data-driven, as you can see, and that no one is doing the things we're doing in this space, and that we are a model agency. And I take that, it may sound kind of crazy, but we really, really like to be known as that kind of transparent agency you can trust. And that's why we're willing to talk to everyone about what we do. And that, lastly here, that the Palm Beaches as a brand, and Boynton Beach is part of this, is that we become more than just a tourism destination. With the economy the way it is here, very good and doing very well, and the tourism economy is helping ignite other things, is that the destination itself, the Palm Beaches, has become a brand into itself, and Boynton figures into that puzzle. So we will always be ready to promote Boynton Beach's position in that puzzle. So, and lastly, come see Commissioner Cruz this Thursday at our State of the Tourism Ministry event. She's going to be part of a extravaganza to open up our show. We'll be happy to, even if you have no RSVPs, you just show up, so to cheer her on. And thank you, Commissioner, for being such a willing volunteer that I didn't have to arm twist too much. So with that, like I said, we'll be happy to bring our roadshow back again, as we have with many other cities. Thank you for your partnership, and thank you for this opportunity. And always remember, think tourism. So thank you.
Yeah. The next presentation is the State of the Education Report by School Board Member Edwin Ferguson. Mr. Ferguson, can you come down and begin your report, please?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commission, City Manager, and Assistant City Manager, residents of Boynton Beach. I am Attorney Edwin Ferguson, your District 7 School Board member. This is the third time that I've come before you to give you a presentation on how our schools in District 7 and Boynton are performing. For those who don't know, District 7 in Boynton runs from I-95 to US 1. That's a rough approximation of my district. Today I want to, if we can pull up the slide deck, give the residents an opportunity to, if you will, just use that QR code there. You can scan the slide deck that I have here. I think it's important that we all are speaking on the same page using the same communication. So the information that I'm relying on to present to you, Madam Mayor, and the rest of the commission, I would like everyone who's watching this here and online to have access to. So this is going to be an abbreviated presentation. I understand you have a very packed, chock-full agenda tonight, and I always want to be respectful of that, and I thank you for allowing me to be here today. I'm going to represent to you what's hidden in that blue hyperlink. Those of you who are watching this online and here in the audience, if you would download this slide deck. If you have Google on your phone or on your computer, you can actually see the breakdown of the school performances. So, but I'll start off by saying that we have 4 District 7 schools here in Boynton: Forest Park Elementary, Galaxy Elementary, Poinciana Elementary, and Rolling Green Elementary. The first thing I want to speak about is kindergarten readiness, because I believe that kids who start ahead tend to stay ahead. Children who start behind tend to stay behind, and there's definitely a correlation between schools who have a high kindergarten readiness score in their third grade ELA, English Language Arts, proficiency scores, and schools who have a lower kindergarten readiness score struggling in that third grade. And that's relevant because it's not just folklore. There is a correlation between your performance in third grade and your potential prospects for gainful employment, or on the other end of the spectrum, getting sucked into the criminal justice system. So it is a matter, as I see it, of life and death, that we make sure that a greater number of our children are ready for kindergarten, because it definitely bodes well for their future opportunities as adults. Having said that, in regard to our third grade scores here in Boynton, the district average is 56%, which means basically that 56% of the children perform at a C or better when they're assessed in English Language Arts. Poinciana, compared to the other 3 schools here in Boynton, tends to, on an annual basis, does better in terms of their ELA scores in that regard. In regard to math, the district average is 60%, and similar to with the ELA scores, Poinciana does seem to outpace by a fair amount Forest Park, Galaxy, and Rolling Green. And as you know, Poinciana's principal was recently transferred up to Roosevelt. She's doing a great job there, but I hear that the current principal is also doing a great job as well. So hopefully you all have had a chance to meet her, and if you haven't, I would encourage you to go there to Poinciana, as well as the other schools as well. Science tends to be a bane across the district. I'm not quite sure why. Well, I am sure why. According to the principals, it's just not it's not attractive to the students, unfortunately. So I see throughout District 7 and other areas of the county where our science scores are not where they need to be. And we have some tools inside of this slide deck that I would invite you all, if you have children in your network, to try to work with them 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. I think it'll pay off in spades, shall we say, if you do that and if you're committed to that. Now, to kind of emphasize the point about those who starting ahead tending to stay ahead and those who start behind tend to stay behind, these are 3 schools inside of District 7. And so last year's ELA scores are 28, 59, and 82. Now, the district average for ELA, I think I said that to you earlier, is 56%. So we have a low-performing school, an average-performing school, and a high-performing school. But then look at the kindergarten readiness. For that third-grade class from last year, they would have been in kindergarten in the year 2022. You see that in the low end, that school only had 21% of its children that were kindergarten ready. What does that mean? A couple of things a number of things, but a few things that you look at. Can they identify their name? Woodrow, Angela, Rebecca, for example. Can they identify colors? Can they hold a writing utensil properly at the age of 5? Can they recite the alphabet? Count to 100? Are they potty trained? These are some basic things that you would think most children at age 5 have mastery of, but as evidenced by the scores that you see on the slide there, at that school they did not. So you can see that that school had a kindergarten readiness score of 21%. They only got up to 28% for third grade. When you look at the school in the middle, a little bit better, 49% is about our kindergarten readiness average year over year. Half the kids are kindergarten ready, half are not. And look, in third grade, they were able to improve their proficiency by 10 points, which is not necessarily world beaters, but it's definitely better than the first school that we're looking at. But then if you look all the way to the right, you see that school, almost 3/4 of the students were kindergarten ready, and so it should come as no surprise that they have a very high ELA performance, 12-point bump. I think that we can get all of our schools in the School 3 category with a little bit of effort from the county, the city, elected officials, the citizens as well. So again, I'm assuming that everyone has had an opportunity to scan these, the QR code, so I'm going to push through these in respect of your time. But there's a treasure trove of information in there that you and parents can kind of peruse through with your children, and they will be game changers in terms of better preparing your children for success in kindergarten. I know this because I have two children who are now 9 and 7, and because I realized the gravity of the situation, we started working on their kindergarten readiness at age really 1.5 and 2. And so if they can do it, I'm quite confident that the overwhelming majority of children here in Boynton and across Palm Beach County can do it too, with a little adult supervision and help. How you can help your children? I like to say that I'm big on actionable items, solutions to a problem. This is something that's historically kind of weighed us down here in Palm Beach County, and then it falls to you all as city commissioners when you say, hey, we don't have enough people to perform job X or job Y or job Z. Or why is it that we have such a large swath of people who seem to not be able to get out of the criminal justice system? I would submit to you that a lot of that is due to these formative years not being properly prepared. See Pastor Hay up there, I'm sure he would appreciate the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. I think it really boils down to something as similar as that. Those who are prepared will excel. Those who are not get left behind. I would that no one in Boynton be left behind. So I really would encourage everybody to focus in on this slide deck that I presented to you today. The biggest thing I would also say is that if you want your child to succeed, communicate with them. Don't just leave them to an iPad or in front of a TV or to their own devices. Engage with them. Ask them open-ended questions. How was your day? What did you do? As opposed to always dictating. Sit down, get up, have conversation with them. That does seem to foster intellectual growth. I don't see it. Okay, it's over there. These sight words, the Dutch word list and the Fry word list, those are things, again, that even at the age of 2, I would strongly encourage families to start working with their children on those things. So cat, dog, fish, you'll see them when you download the slide deck. These are things that a lot of our kindergartners do not master. And so what happens is they get into a space of what I call triage education. So in 1st grade, you're trying to master what you should have learned in kindergarten. In 3rd grade, you're trying to master what you should have learned in 1st grade or 2nd grade. So how can you ever get ahead if you're always behind in the rear? So I would that our children win. And again, with your help, we can make that happen here in Boynton and across Palm Beach County. In addition to helping your children inside the home, I would encourage as many as possible who have time to go out and become members of the SAC and PTSAs of their respective schools. These schools are not islands unto themselves. They work for the betterment of the city and the community as well. So I would love for the greater number of you who have time to come to the different meetings that I just mentioned and ask questions. Learn about what public education looks like, because I can tell you that in comparison to charter schools and private schools, generally speaking, we are running circles around them. But we can do it even better and to a much greater degree if we had more community involvement. So again, I've suggested some ways in which parents and concerned citizens can help. Bright Future Scholarship is also a game changer for those children who would like to go to college. We subsidize a higher education here in Florida, so long as you perform well in high school, which again gets back to that kindergarten readiness. If you're properly prepared by kindergarten, you got a much higher prospect and likelihood of being able to attain a free education here in Florida. And despite what some people may think, we do have a really good collegiate system here in Florida. So again, scan that QR code and you'll get the full slide deck that I've been referencing. CTE. Now, I mentioned that a lot of students may want to go to higher education, but what about those who do not? So one thing that I've been working with my colleagues in the district on is expanding the number of career technical education centers that we have. So we have brought back a North Tech down in Delray. I had a pretty substantial hand in helping to bring the Delray Adult Education Center to fruition, because everybody is not necessarily trying to go to a University of Central Florida or University of Florida, or whatever school here in the state or outside. Some people want to start earning a fair day's wage as a plumber, electrician, HVAC, whatever the case may be. So I'm definitely a huge advocate, as are many others on our board, for expanding our number of CTA centers. ESE centers, autism is an ever-growing, if you will, disability that we're identifying on a much larger scale. We need more ESE autism units throughout the county. Particularly in District 7, we have a dearth of them, and it's it compounds the problem because a lot of the families aren't necessarily as mobile as, say, you or I. And so they can't necessarily, if I live here on Seacrest, I can't very well get down to Boca or get up to West Palm Beach to the next closest ESC center. So I've been working with the superintendent in that regard to try to expand the number of units that we have throughout District 7 because we need to have those services proximate. Anyone who's familiar with a child who has autism or is identified as autistic understands that they need a lot of extra help throughout the day. And we want them to be as independent as possible as adults. And again, it really starts with what we do in these formative years. Native language support is the last point I'll make today, and then I'll stop talking and then field any questions. We have a very large Haitian American population here in Boynton. So honestly, I was the one who advocated the greatest for having more dual language Haitian Creole programs throughout the county, but we have a problem with persons who are fluent verbally and in writing. So you got to have both in order for you to have a viable dual language program. So what superintendent and his staff concluded last year is that we would do what's called a native language support. So basically the way that works, Commissioner Kelly, is let's pretend you and I both speak Haitian Creole. I'll be the teacher in this case, you'll be the student. And so I'm trying to teach you something in math or in English language arts or science. And I can see that you're not quite getting it in English, so then I'll transition over and say it to you in Haitian Creole. Hopefully the light will go on. So we're authorizing, endorsing, supporting, basically by any means necessary to educate our students on a day-to-day basis because we want them to excel, succeed, and be the best they can be. I'm well under my 10 minutes, so if you all have any questions, that's my email address. If by chance you don't have Google on your phone or on your computer, feel free to email me or call me at the office, and we'll be sure to get those slides to you because, again, I think they can be a game changer and will be a game changer if we use these tools with all rigor possible. And with that, Madam Mayor, I thank you for the time, and if there are any questions, I'm here to answer them as best I can.
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you. What a great presentation.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Ferguson.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Next, we will have the city event announcements. Can I please have city staff come up to the podium to announce?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Managers. I'm Amanda Onda, your new Events Director. So next Tuesday, November 11th, we will have our Memorial Day celebration at Memorial Veterans Park, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. At the event, we will have a ceremony to include a presentation of colors, the national anthem, guest speakers, a moment of silence, and a laying of the wreath in remembrance of those who have given their lives. So we hope that everybody will join us. Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, did I not say Veterans Day? Oh, of course, Veterans Day. Thank you.
We are moving on to the public audience portion of the meeting. As always, it is 3 minutes per person and non-transferable. The same rules always apply. Speaker must address the commission as a whole, not to any individual on the dais or in the audience. Insults, personal attacks, and disruptions are not permitted, and you may be asked to leave the meeting should you violate these rules. After we've concluded in-person comments, we will move on to online comments. And welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I hope you enjoyed my emails full of ideas from France and England. Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. So I want to say thank you to Adam Temple for judging my neighborhood's holiday decorating contest. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You and your daughters did an outstanding job coming up with some amazing superlatives. Greatly appreciated. Second thing is, obviously, I support the Little Lending Libraries. I'm so glad you're moving forward with studying this. And it being on the exec board for Sister Cities for several years now. I don't know how closely you read my email, but they have reached out to Lake Worth, which has the highest concentration in the world of Little Lending Libraries, and gotten some great ideas. So Sister Cities is going to want to work with the city. Expect Jeannie to come forward with something, shortly. I also want to say, where are we at here on my list? It's been 5 months since the environmental impact study was requested for the Nichols Boulevard Forest. This is now like the third meeting in a row that I've been to that I'm asking where the heck is it at? What's our status? When is the city going to move forward on protecting these animals, protecting this forest? This is for us, the people, the residents, and nothing seems to be happening. The developer is moving forward with his 72 townhome project and calling it the Turtle something or other, but it's just embarrassing. And the neighbors, of course, are still very, very upset and reaching out to me, and I go, I keep asking and I keep not getting anything. So I'm going to once again ask that this get moved forward and stop sitting on our hands. Let's get this taken care of. This is an easy win. This is something easy that makes our city look good. And oh, it could be a tourist destination. And last thing I want to talk about, because I don't have too much time left, is as you start discussing the charter amendment, because I actually am the city resident that sat in all those meetings in addition to former Mayor Taylor's daughter. So I was actually at all of those. I support 2-year terms. I support 2-year continuous residency to stop this foolishness of people who don't actually come from here just throwing their hats in. And please look at doing 25 years as the age minimum. You need maturity to handle over $1/3 of $1 billion budget and to not be easily swayed by those $1,000 developer donations. So I suggest you start looking at raising the age. And everything else I care significantly less about and not willing to die on the sword for. Those 3 things I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Cindy Falco Di Corrado. It's disappointing seeing a police officer here that attacked me and that I was not protected as a citizen in this room right over here on March the 5th, 2024. It's really nerve-wracking for me to be here and look at his face knowing that he assaulted me. I also want to discuss about what the gentleman just said at the podium, Mr. Ferguson. Our national language is English. It's been stated as such. If children come here to live, they need to speak our language. And I want to correct him. He said Haitian American. No. It's American Haitian. And this is the problem, and this is what I've asked for before, for us to have a month of an American month to really teach what it means to be an American. We've gotten so far away from that as this gentleman who stood here prior to you, on Mr. Ferguson, articulated, to speak in Creole, make it Creole, Haitian American. No. America first. And it is our laws that you put an American flag above any other flag. And I don't see that being stipulated. I'm an American. I'm proud to be American, born and raised in Florida, in Miami exactly. So I'm a natural Floridian. And it really concerns me that I'm losing my country. It's perturbing to me. It really is. When I walk into stores and nobody speaks English and I'm the only person there that speaks English, not just Creole, Hispanic as well, and any other language. It makes me not feel like I'm in my own country, and I'd like to know where my America is. And it's because people like you allow other people, possibly, I'm not saying you're doing it, to speak in other languages, to teach in other languages when they need to learn English. I didn't go to their country, they came to mine. It's called respect. And I also want to piggyback on what Susan Oyer said. I think 25 years old is a better age. We could have more wisdom. The chemicals kick into the bodies to make wise decisions, and they're more mature. It's important. We have people speaking over our lives that know nothing about life. And it would behoove you to use wisdom and have somebody 25 years and older to work on our budgets and our monies. I also want to bring up about why, again, are we being asked assessment on, first of all, the fire. And I know there's an exemption, and I filled it out, but I didn't get it this year, and it really is perplexing why I'm paying for something that I don't agree with. And I want to know why I'm paying extra for garbage. Why is that not filtered into the monthly bill? My bill's gone to $5,000. It's ridiculous. We're being taxed to death. I don't know if you own homes. I mean, I'm sure yours all went up if you own a home. It is out of control, and it needs to cease and desist. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Reedy. Tonight, I wanted to thank Kevin Ramsey. Kevin Ramsey is the bomb. He got rid of the random shrub that was blocking our visibility leaving the Little League field. onto Wilbright, which was very, very dangerous. So I want to thank him very much because he did that. Also of concern regarding the Little League Road exiting onto Wilbright are the newly planted Kalusha plants. They're famous for growing very quickly, and they're right up against the stop sign there. So I know that's going to be a soon-to-come catastrophe. I would bet that code enforcement has a rule about blocking stop signs with shrubberies. So that's another thing that I'm worried about. And as you prepare your lobbyists for your legislative concerns, please include returning to no firearms in public parks. I noticed the sign at the Little League field on this weekend that they've taped off and sprayed out the no firearms clause. It's very concerning because there are large crowds routinely at the Little League field, as well as at Hester for the Bulldog games. And that's also a public park. So there's no open carry in these chambers. So it would make sense to try to protect our children, our young athletes. If you would put that on your list, please. Let's do no carry at public parks if possible. And I also wanted to mention that I would not be in favor of a 4-year term. I think 3-year terms work out pretty well, and 4-year terms it might be too much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Jim Sizik. I also think Kevin Ramsey's the bomb, but I'm not talking about him till December. I'd like to speak very briefly about, reiterate what Amanda and others have already brought up. Tuesday, November 11th at 11 a.m. at the Veterans Park. I would like to invite everybody to please come out to Veterans program that we have set up for 11 a.m. A special note, we have gifts for all the veterans that come out, but I have a wealth of folks that just come out that are not veterans that show their patriotism coming out and thanking the veterans. I would ask you all, if possible, to please come out. I also am a graduate of PGA Hope. I echo Commissioner Turkin that absolutely you recognize veterans, they'll be there for you. The last thing that I wanted to speak of in my capacity as chairman of the Senior Advisory Board, I wanted to share some things that have recently come out to us in the last couple of meetings. We were of the impression that everything that went on in the meetings funneled to the commission. Not looking to go after anybody other than the fact that I wanted to give you an update. In my years on the commission, we only had an opportunity once previously to speak at the end of a year and tell you the things we did. I want to tell you the things that we're doing. We are actively working as a group to go out to HOAs, to churches, to try to attend all the public venues that we have set up for ourselves here, to try to garner the charter tasking that we have, which is to find out how we can help the senior community of Boynton Beach. The things that we have addressed for 2026, specifically around nutrition and feeding, transportation. One of the big things that I'm pushing for is a healthcare symposium, hopefully the health and arts. It's one of those kind of opportunities for patients, for family members, for caregivers, general community to come out and to have medical professionals and life professionals come out in a symposium format and share to folks the kind of challenges you're going to face as you deal with seniors and the kind of challenges that seniors are stuck with. One of the things that we've been asked to do, specifically, speaking very quickly here, is to do things in no cost, and I think that is a surprise to us. Previously, we had a little bit of a budget allocated to recreation. We've been told that that is not in place for this upcoming year, that the only thing that we're going to be able to do on a funded scale will be something November 2026. I would ask you for your consideration if you could work with Recreation and maybe allow us to fund some things. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Next, please.
Yeah, hi, this is Carol Porter, who lives in Stonehaven. I appreciate the updates from Commission about the Newth Road project. Commissioner Cruz, I was not sure how long that project is going to be in the works, because in and out is like a problem in there, a lot, so just wondering. And the other thing I wanted to piggyback on what your Senior Advisory Board chairperson said. I'm concerned as older people get older, as a person who got scammed after she lost her spouse. I am worried about senior fraud. I don't know if the commissioners could have any plans to have maybe Senator Scott come here. I don't know if you do, because he had a field hearing down in Durrell. So I don't know if there were any plans with that, because, yeah, I'm piggybacking on what he said. I'm concerned about fraud here as residents get older, because they lose the ability to get around. They don't have people to depend on sometimes, like myself. So just a couple observations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, thank you for inviting me up and being here. My name is Michaela McLaughlin. I'm a resident of Forest Park. I live on Southwest 13th Avenue. So I live just a few houses down from the little free pantry and library that I know you all will be considering. I just wanted to point you all to a few municipalities throughout the country that have found ways to work with property owners that are willing to have these. Most notably, McKinney, Texas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Kentwood, Michigan, and Riverside, California are municipalities that have found really constructive ways to work constructively with property owners that would like to have these types of resources for their community. And just as someone that I'm at that little free pantry and library a few times a month, dropping off food for my neighbors. It's my understanding that the complaints are largely coming from someone that doesn't live directly in our neighborhood. They don't live on that street. So I just like to urge you that I'm there often. I've never seen that be anything but an addition to our community at a time when people need it. We live in a time where this world is incredibly isolating and lonely, and I heard from so many people tonight, caregivers, who may want to stop by there and grab something quick because they didn't have time, elderly on a fixed income, students who every study shows that students do better when they have food in their stomachs. This is literacy. This is feeding children. When we talk about kindergarten readiness and asking parents to read to their children, if a parent is not able to be mobile and even make it from Forest Park over to this library, there's a chance their kids pass that when they're walking to school. So I would really urge you to side on with the community, with the people that are living with and engaging with this true resource to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Ace Tilton Ratcliffe. I live in Forest Park over by Willie's. Since 2021, my partner Derek and I have maintained a Little Free Pantry and Little Free Library to provide non-perishable food, toiletries, and books to our community. The Little Free Pantry was built with assistance from the Benai Torah congregation. Over the years, the Little Free Library and Pantry have been an incredible source of community building and a great way to get to know our neighbors. We've made friends with people who stop by on their evening walk to grab a book for themselves or as a gift for someone in their family. We've chatted about their lives and learned about them. The neighbor who immigrated from Ukraine but worries about the son that stayed to fight. The neighbor who fosters rescue dogs from untenable living situations and walks them every day. The neighbor who thanked us for providing the only reason he was able to eat breakfast that day. The neighbors who were only able able to eat Thanksgiving dinner last year because we provided over 20 non-perishable meals for them. We've purchased book series for neighborhood kids who wanted something to read with a main character who looked like them. We've raised funds online to fill the pantry, even and especially as the cost of groceries has risen steadily. We've had people from the other side of the country send us boxes of books to stock the library with. We have friends who make Costco runs specifically to fill up the pantry. The pantry is desperately needed to bring resources to our community during trying economic times. With the current government shutdown, programs like Meals on Wheels and SNAP, which provides food to over 168,000 people, are facing dire shutdowns or shortages. When we are able to fill them, they are emptied by multiple families over less than 48 hours. Everyone who uses the pantry tries to leave something for the next person who uses it. We've put thousands of dollars into the community, volunteering hundreds of hours to shop and maintain the structures, all because we know firsthand that it makes a tangible difference to the people in our community. We are not the only ones who do this work. Around the city, there are a number of similar Little Free libraries. 3 of them were built under the direction of Commissioner Romulus and placed at Oceanfront Park, Barrier Free Park, and the Carolyn Sim Center. 2 of those remain, maintained by staff and another community member. When our structures were first built, we called the city to ask if they needed to be permitted. We were told repeatedly over the years by multiple city officials that the library and pantry did not need permits so long as they were on private property. Despite these assurances, a citizen complaint was filed last month from someone who fundamentally disagrees with our politics of taking care of our community, someone who doesn't even live in Forest Park and lives instead miles away from the amenities. We have been informed that since our city code does not specify a section protecting the libraries and pantries, that they must be removed. This has not been the case for libraries set up by the city, at nearby Forest Park Elementary School, or elsewhere in Boynton. I come to you tonight asking that you bring forth a motion to investigate amending city code to protect these valuable community amenities in the same way that Lake Worth Beach and Delray Beach have done. Please allow us to continue serving our community. Please direct code enforcement to delay action on our library and pantry until such amendment is passed so our community does not lose these resources. Please allow our friends to continue serving Boynton Beach with their own libraries and pantries. Caring for our communities is a value that should be shared across the political spectrum. Thank you.
Next, please.
Hello, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Derek Calhoun. I've lived in Boynton Beach since 2019 and owned a home here since 2020. My spouse and I put up a Little Free Library and Little Free Pantry in our front yard in 2021 in consultation with the City of Boynton Beach with regard to city regulations. The library and pantry have since provided thousands of books and thousands of dollars worth of shelf-stable food and toiletries to hundreds of community members in the 4 years they've been up. They've been a meaningful connection point between us and our neighbors, many of whom thank us and all of whom use the community resources respectfully. Books flow in and out of the library, providing everything from children's books to sewing instructionals to novels to historical accounts to neighbors of all ages. I commonly hear from someone loading groceries into the pantry, "I'm so sorry I can't do more." I've heard from someone taking a single breakfast bar from the top of the pile say, "I want to leave enough for everyone else." My spouse and I consider it our responsibility to look out for our neighbors, especially the most vulnerable. This feels to us like a universal value that transcends politics. Recently, though, a fellow Boynton Beacher that lives in a different community across town made a complaint to the city demanding that the pantry be removed. When we reached out, she let us know explicitly that her complaint was made because she hates our politics and that she disapproves of the people these resources are designed to serve. Unfortunately, in response to the complaint, we've now been told by the city that the previous guidance we received from the city was wrong. The building department still says that there is no permitting requirement for structures of this type and small size, so they have no reason to take any action on the complaint. The Planning and Zoning Department still says their regulations do not address Little Free libraries and Little Free pantries at all. However, farcically, the Planning and Zoning Department has now ruled that in the absence of explicit exemptions for Little Free libraries and Little Free pantries, they fall under the category of accessory storage structures, which are prohibited in front and side yards. As a result, we have been ordered to remove them or place them within our fenced yard, which obviously defeats their purpose. More broadly, this regulatory oversight effectively outlaws Little Free libraries and Little Free pantries throughout the city. It makes the other 10 Little Free libraries in Boynton Beach vulnerable to partisan weaponization of the city code by those who would rather tear at the fabric of community than help weave it. Seeing their obvious community value, municipalities across the country have enshrined Little Free libraries and pantries in their land use regulations, including our neighbors in Lake Worth Beach, where there are now over 120 Little Free libraries. The solution in Boynton Beach is simple. please amend the Boynton Beach Land Development Regulations dealing with accessory structures to exempt Little Free libraries and Little Free pantries from the front and side yard ban, similar to mailboxes. In the meantime, please direct code enforcement to delay action on our library and pantry until such an amendment is passed so our community doesn't lose these valuable resources. Little Free libraries and pantries obviously deepen community bonds and improve quality of life for all residents. I'm hopeful that my city will help me serve my community, not punish me for it or prohibit others from doing good as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, hello, hello. Cameron Maharaj, District 2 resident. Today is a special day for me. I am feeling very inspired. We have something special going on in New York. So I wanted to say today, I'm announcing it everywhere. It's live. I will be running for District 2 Commission. I've come up on this dais and I've explained my problems within my own neighborhood so much that it concerns me when nothing gets done. So, as my mother would always tell me, Cameron, if you want something done, you gotta do it yourself. So I am looking for the support of my community. I will be outside meeting all of my neighbors in the District 2 community and just putting my best foot forward when it comes down to community efforts in bringing my small little district together. There's so much things that needs to be done within District 2. We have game day events that prohibit so much parking citations when it comes down to these people that are visiting. We don't have any areas for these people to park. I've came up here and I spoke about the road infrastructure multiple times throughout the District 2 neighborhood. To no prevail, I know we've had conversations here that we're gonna make a clean and safe initiative to make sure that Boynton, outside of their non-HOAs, are, let's say, protected, cared for, look after, even though there aren't our moneymakers. So I want to put my own neighborhood first. I want to put the people that I care for, all my neighbors that I respect dearly, and they treat me like a family. I have a majority Haitian neighborhood, and every holiday I could tell you there's so much food to go around that I get invited to every plate. That's what I want my district to feel like. I want people to know that they are supported no matter what they go through, and they're not gonna go through it alone. I've been in this community all my life. I lost my leg right here on Seacrest 18 years ago. So it just means so much to me to provide for my community and build more. You guys are doing great. The PGA Hope events are great. The community building as a dais is doing really good, but we need to focus. We need to focus and really make sure that these people are safe. We need to make sure that I'm tired of people feeling like strangers when you live around your neighbors. You should get to know every single body and you should feel respected everybody. You're not gonna agree with everybody, but you should at least know where your neighbor stands and how to communicate them if something goes on. I even lost my house here. And if it wasn't for my neighbors to inform me about what was going on, I would have been clueless. I saw ashes, smoke, but all that to be said, I'm running, I'll be here as I always am. So I'm always not hard to find. And I will really not be hard to find this time because social media is new. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
I support you, Cameron. Good evening. I'm Dave Radcliffe. I've been a Boynton Beach resident for 34 years now. I sent a number of you an email today, but I thought it was important that I actually showed up too. And I'd like to read that email to you because I know many times you have a lot of other things in plate. Dear Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners, I am writing in support of amending the City Council's land development regulations, including an exemption for Little Free libraries and Little Free pantries, allowing residents to place these community resources in front and on side yard areas. Under current regulations, such structures are effectively prohibited as, quote, accessory storage structures must be located within a fenced area. This restriction prevents the Little Free libraries and pantries from serving their intended purpose, being easily accessible to neighbors. Residents are overwhelmingly familiar with the support of these initiatives. Nearby cities such as Delray and Lake Worth Beach not only allow but actively encourage the libraries and pantries, recognizing their direct benefit to the community. Boynton itself has embraced similar projects, as was mentioned before. In finishing, though, it's concerning to me that current regulations are being invoked apparently for political reasons, and even by individuals who do not reside in the affected neighborhood. This issue should not be politicized. When a simple, logical solution exists, amend the land development regulations to exempt little free libraries and pantries, allowing them in the front and side yard areas where they can serve. Thank you for your consideration, especially as our food banks continue to struggle to meet the growing needs in these challenging times.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Laura Ratcliffe. I have been a citizen of Boynton Beach for almost 35 years. We moved to Boynton Beach. We could have moved anywhere in the Palm Beaches. We lived in Boca Raton before, but the reason we chose Boynton Beach was because when we came off of that off-ramp on I-95, it felt like a community. It felt like a small town. And it was, and it still holds that feeling for us. It is our job as citizens to create community. It's your job to do that as well. Little free libraries and little free pantries do exactly that. I happen to donate to the Little Free Pantry on a regular basis. I provide shelf-stable milk, soups, proteins, things that families in need. This is not some luxury thing. We are providing for our neighbors. And I think that Boynton Beach, the city of Boynton Beach, will be standing on the wrong side of community care by allowing these structures to be phased out simply because the commission or the Building and Zoning Department is not willing to codify them. We need to support our neighbors. We are living in trying times. And those of us that are fortunate enough to be able to help, we should not have our hands tied behind our backs because of politics. It's ridiculous. We need to help our neighbors. And I ask that the City Commission will do just that and will bring this forth to the Code Department so that we can get this fixed. Thank you.
No, Mayor, there's somebody online. No online public comment.
Okay. 3 minutes, sir.
Can I get an extra 20
Nope,
minutes? Okay,
your time
sorry.
started.
3 minutes.
Hi, Ernest McNally, 710 Northeast 7th Street. So I have a summons here from Officer Thompson, and I'm trying to sign a criminal complaint against him. I was caught by some gangs on MLK, in front of me and in back of me. And they were banging on my window, trying to attack me. And I thought, I can't go forward. Let me at least turn around and try and go back out to Federal Highway. And what does Thompson do instead of helping me get abused and threatened? He writes me a summons for an illegal U-turn. Now, if you stand on MLK, right, on any day, about 1,000 people make that illegal U-turn, especially the police in their private cars, especially a lot of people sitting on this dais, right? Why me? You know what number ticket this is for me? The judges in Palm Beach County can't believe it. The Boynton Beach Police don't let up on me, okay? They've given me 16 tickets already, right? They gave me a ticket on Federal Highway when a subject overdosed and was laying in the street. And I pulled over to prevent cars from hitting the person. You know what the officer did? Came up and said to me, "Oh, you illegally stopped on the highway. Here's another summons." Are you kidding me? And a lot of you should put your head down, okay? Because what you're doing and the emails that a few of you are sending out, why they're not getting investigated, I don't know why, okay? I really don't know why. And why a police chief is allowed last meeting to stand out in that lobby and yell that all my tire slashings, all the crime against me, it's all made up and false. And if I call to ask for help again, he's gonna put me in the Palm Beach County Jail for the 5th time. Now, you know how many internal affairs complaints I've signed against Chief DiGiulio? And not one was ever investigated. Now, I have about 40 victim things here, from my tire slash, from being beaten, people chasing me with machetes and stuff, and these police covered it all up. You wanna know why? Because half them are married to these gang members. And what goes on at that Sims Park is so frightening, and I wonder who's on the dais that's responsible for Sims Park. Does anybody know? Does anybody know? And to see what goes on there with those active shooters and the little girl that was shot and what the police are not doing there is frightening. It's beyond frightening. It's beyond frightening. And then when I document it and report it, what do the police do? They come up, oh, you can't be here. You're criminally trespassed. Can I get an extra 20 minutes?
No, sir, I'm sorry you can't, but thank you for your time.
How about 10 minutes?
I don't want to take extra time. I do just have a letter from another Little Free
can hand
Library
it to the
steward.
clerk. Yeah, you can hand it to
Thank you.
Thank you. You have something to say?
Mayor, if I may, I just want to also mention a big thank you to city staff for the Sterling Village Town Hall that we had last week. And there was a comment about focusing on senior fraud and how that's become a big problem. That is something that Police Chief Joe DiGiulio is enforcing and really looking at and leveraging innovative technologies and different resources to combat that, because it's not just a Boynton Beach problem. I think it's a national problem, and so he's spearheading that. And so I just want to thank Joe and the police department again for focusing on one of our most vulnerable communities. And again, big shout out to city staff for staying late and taking time away from your families to support the residents of Sterling Village.
Great, and we do not have anyone online, so public comment is now officially closed. We're moving on to the administrative portion of the agenda. First up is a discussion on the legislative action workshop, which would be January 13th and 14th, Palm Beach County Days in Tallahassee. Commissioner Turkin, you brought this up. Would you like to begin?
Yes, you know, I had brought this up quite some time ago. I just feel like we're at the 11th hour, so I don't know how effective we're going to be. I know we've done a little bit as far as communicating with some alternative representatives as far as appropriation requests go. Thank you, Candace and Myrna, for being on the call with Rep. Weinberger last week. Yes, I know public safety is obviously a big initiative, you know, for the state of Florida and Tallahassee, and it seems that there is a lot of interest in our municipal public safety dock and boat. So I really look forward to, you know, hopefully getting that approved. I know we've also, I think there's an introduction with Rep. Snyder that I think we need to follow up with that. And so I want to make sure that we take as much action as we can with alternative representatives to try to accomplish achieving these appropriation requests, and then focusing on some policy issues. You know, just to think of a few, widening the scope of some of our enterprise funds, right? We're looking at property tax, or the state's looking at property tax. So I think really pushing for the ability to widen our use of enterprise funds could help mitigate any potential loss that we would have if the state moves forward with the elimination of property tax, however that may look. But I just don't know if, I don't know if having a workshop this close to the finish line is going to be effective. Obviously, that's going to be a decision amongst you all if we are going to be able to pursue that or not. I think maybe the alternative is
maybe just have a discussion on maybe our top 3 policy initiatives we want to get done, and then we can have the city manager's office, Candace, talk to these alternate representatives that we're utilizing to try to help push these policies in collaboration with Ballard partners. So I guess what I'm looking at is just getting organized as far as a consensus of what we want to see as a body, to help our residents and accomplish in Tallahassee.
Do you think this is something we could discuss on Saturday?
Yeah,
For the top
I'm
three?
okay to
We're already in a
piggyback it on a
workshop.
Saturday. We're already coming in, so if
Gives us
the
some time
board's
to think
okay
about
with
it.
that.
Isn't it CRA or it's joint?
Joint.
Okay,
It's
as long as
joint.
it's joint, okay. So
Yeah,
maybe we
but
can just add
it's-
that to the agenda then.
Yeah, and we have enough time, so let's just,
Yeah, and maybe that gives everyone up here time
To
to
come in
kind
30
of focus
minutes
on
early.
what they want to see, I know if you haven't looked at the appropriation requests that we're submitting, Candace has them. And I think the big thing is the visual of it, the why behind it, how it can benefit not just the residents of Boynton, but for it to be multi-jurisdictional, is how we can accomplish that by thinking outside of just Boynton Beach, but, all of Central and South Palm Beach County.
great. Yes.
To piggyback, thank you, Commissioner Turkin. I think, one of the things that I've found every time I go up to Palm Beach County Days is that as organized and prepared as we are, we're never organized and prepared enough. And I think that it's really important. I think that to be prepared and have talking points, we have very little time when we're up there to talk to the representatives and to push, like you said, the why of why we're doing this and why it's important. And so I think that the more that we can be prepared with talking points, and we depend on staff to kind of, to assist with that, but really, talking to these departments and figuring out why are we asking for this? Why is this important to our residents? How it's going to benefit the residents, so that then our representatives can really push, in committees and through the body as to why that's important. And so I think that whoever is going to go up to Palm Beach County Days or go up another time, I know I've already been speaking about going up a couple of different times this next year, especially with, between Live Local and some other things that are, the CRA, possible bills, and then property tax reform. I think, I know I plan to be up there a couple of times to really work on that. So I think anytime that we can collaborate and make sure that, whoever is going up there is really focused on what's important for the residents, I think will be helpful. So I 100% support this. I think Saturday makes sense. We can have a brief kind of overview of what's going on from Candace and what we're asking for and where our priorities are. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
I don't have a problem with having a workshop on Saturday, but I would like for staff to make sure that we are informed of what Palm Beach County issues are, as well as the city of Boynton and some of the other cities. Because when we go up there, we group with the other representatives from Palm Beach County. And it would behoove us to know what's on their discussion board so that we can make a decision, be in support of, hopefully. But I think we need to be aware of that. And maybe you have that information already, but if not, make sure that information becomes available by the time we have the workshop.
Candace, does that give you enough time?
It's this Saturday, correct?
Yeah.
I already started to compile, Candace Walls, Chief of Staff. I already started to compile some information. Adam gave me a couple of items, and I do have what Palm Beach County has for their legislative priorities, so I can put something together. That was going to be my alternative, was to give you guys like a little bit of a legislative priorities list in lieu of a workshop, just because of how everything was funneling with time and the NLC. So I can definitely do that for you, yes.
Thank you. Great. Any other comments on this issue? We'll pick it back up on Saturday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving on to the advisory board and appointments. We have an application for the Education and Youth Advisory Board. There's one alternate position and 3 high school student positions available, and this nomination goes to Commissioner Cruz.
I'm looking
No,
at
the student, sorry to interrupt, the student appointment is actually Vice Mayor Hayes' appointment. if you're looking at the list.
Just wanted to make a quick comment. I was looking at the application. It says that it is a Boynton Beach resident. However, when looking at the map and knowing that zip code, it's actually outside of the city limits. So just wanted to make the board aware of that. I don't know if we looked into that during the application process, but that's something that maybe we should have flagged for the waiver on the application.
Okay.
Anyhow, if you want to make the appointment, feel free.
Yeah, feel free. There's only
Yeah, I'll
the
look-
one applicant. so-
Is it down to me now for the?
Yeah.
The student? Yeah. Arillo Tenaborum be appointed to that student position for the Education and Youth Advisory Board.
Great. Do we have a second?
Second.
So
for
technically, on a legal
discussion-
term, does
for
he
dis-
have to amend his
Provision
motion?
For the motion.
Actually, I have to defer to Maylee. She does all of that I'm not involved in any of the appointment stuff, so I didn't see the application. I was not aware.
No, but as far as process goes, is there a requirement because this applicant lives outside of the city limits?
Yes, they
That
would-
you would need to incorporate the waiver provision in the motion?
Correct.
That's what I was trying to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
And also, I think you need to be a registered
Voter.
to vote in
Not when
Palm
it's
Beach
a
County.
student, because you can't be a registered
Right.
voter, because you're under the age of 18.
Well, you can pre-register at 16 and you can be registered at 18. I don't know the age of the student, so.
you can't vote
Can't
at
vote.
18.
You can pre-register to vote and you can.
But I think
vote
it's-
at
That you're
18.
not
I-
a registered, you
Right,
don't get your
right.
voter card
Yeah.
until you're 18.
I don't know the age of the
so-
student. Student could be
Yeah.
broad, it could be a college student, it could be a high school
Yeah.
student, I don't.
No, my son did that pre-registration, but he doesn't have a registration card and can't vote until he's
So-
18.
So maybe the motion could include the waiver provision contingent that the applicant could fill the seat if they are eligible to vote?
I don't know.
No,
'cause
because you
it's a
don't, it's
student.
not limited to students.
Well, is it a college student, is it a high school
A high
student?
school, they're a
It's
high,
high
it's
school
supposed to be a high
student.
school
Can I make a
student.
suggestion?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Why don't we have Maylee go back and ask the person if they'll complete a waiver?
Yeah,
And they
let's
can
vet it
answer,
first.
we need to know how old the person is,
Agree.
and then,
Well, they're 16,
this.
because they were born in 2008. So they just turned, actually, they just turned 17.
16 or
They
17,
just turned
correct.
17.
So it's just
I
proper
don't-
to just table that one?
that is my suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah. Motion to table.
Second.
We have a motion to table the student member of the Education Appointment and Youth Board. Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say
One-
nay.
Can I
Motion
just say,
passes
I'm sorry, really
unanimously.
quick. When it comes to, and Shauna, if you can look into this, when it comes to a student, if they're a student at one of our schools that we have focused on, then I want to see, like, let's read how also that requirement is when it comes to a student, when it comes to the Education Youth Advisory, because Palm Beach County has a bunch of choice programs. And so you can have a student that goes to Boynton Beach High School and they're part of the aeronautical program and they're a student at our local high school. So I want to see, I would like to see
Maybe
how
we
that
need
is
to
worded.
add that to the waiver, is for them to indicate what school they go to.
That would be good.
Right.
Take some mystery.
But also
Because-
just read the wording of
Well-
our, because I don't know if it's clear
Yeah.
when it comes to a student, if the student portion has to be a resident. So that's why I'm
Right,
asking.
okay, and then, but one of the other things to consider is you could have a student that lives here but also doesn't go to school.
Correct.
In one of our schools, and whether or not that would be acceptable to you.
Right. Well, I know we pushed this out to Boynton Beach High School and Santa Lucia's High
Okay.
School. So I know that was, this, if I had to guess, this student came from one of those two
Okay.
schools, because that's where we pushed it out to.
I'll look
to-
into
Through the principals, so. Okay, thank you. Sorry, thank you.
No worries. Okay, there are vacancies on the following advisory boards: Building Board Adjustment and Appeals, Historic Preservation Board, and the Library Advisory Board. We encourage residents to apply and join one of the boards. We have one community support fund from Commissioner Turkin, which is $400 for Growing Strong Ministries. May we have a motion to approve the community support funds?
Second.
We have a motion to approve the support funds for Growing Strong Ministries, and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. We will now be moving on to the consent agenda. If my colleagues want to pull any items from the consent agenda, now is the time. Let's start to my left with Commissioner Turkin.
Nothing in this section.
Thank you. And Commissioner Kelly?
No, Mayor.
And Vice Mayor Hay?
No pools.
And Commissioner Cruz?
Not for me, thanks.
Great.
Motion to approve consent
Second.
agenda?
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. We will now move on to consent bids and purchases. If my colleagues would like to pull any items, let's begin on my right with Commissioner Cruz.
Nope, thank you.
And Vice Mayor Hay.
No.
And Commissioner Kelly.
No, Mayor.
And Commissioner Turkin.
Yeah, I want to pull 7C, just to highlight that very quickly. And then I'll
Motion.
make a motion to approve the remainder of the agenda.
Second.
Second.
We have
Or
a
the,
motion to
consent.
approve the remainder of the agenda and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. So Commissioner Turkin, would you like to begin since you pulled 7C?
Yep. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight the significance of the demolition of the Boynton Beach Inn and, looking at, two nuisance properties, the former Homing Inn and the Boynton Beach Inn. These have been properties that have drastically vacuumed the police department's resources, fire department's resources, city's resources, been an eyesore in the community, and just been a hub of crime. And so I think this is a huge moment for the vision of Boynton Beach to revitalize this entryway feature in our city. And I really look forward to the direction that this commission is going to move towards as far as what we want to incorporate there. And I know the mayor's seen it, seen some socials. I read through the comments from some of those residents' posts, and people are thrilled and super excited, to see not just the Homing Inn be revitalized, but the Boynton Beach Inn, to be now considered a piece of history in our city. And so with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. And motion passes unanimously. That was ordinance number, I should go back, R25289. Okay, we have 3 public hearing items. There will be a public comment. Public comment will be permitted on each item. I will turn to the clerk to read 8A into the record. This is a second reading, so are there any changes to the item?
Proposed ordinance number 25-018, second reading, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 14, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 14-5, stopping, standing, parking, or storage prohibited in specific places, and creating new sections thereunder, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Yes, there was a edit, but also I have a PowerPoint that should be, okay, there it is, thank you. So I'm going to go over the PowerPoint, which also has some information you guys requested during the agenda review, which Planning and Zoning will go over the second half of that. Oh, yeah. Okay. So the proposal of the ordinance amendments, the concern is safety. Parking on the right-of-ways and interfering with the flow of traffic and access emergency vehicles. This is the reason why the ordinance is coming about. So we're just refreshing your memories since it's been a little bit of time and the public's. Parking within the safety side triangle, blocking visibility. Parking over sidewalks, causing pedestrians to walk into the road. Blight, vehicles parking on front lawns. Maintenance, causing damage to swales and drainage infrastructure. Regulations have not been updated in 20 years. The Boynton Beach is the only city within the county that does not strictly prohibit parking on the front lawns, sidewalks, and swales. Some of the update highlights as we removed language allowing vehicles to park in the right-of-way. We added language prohibiting parking, stopping, standing at any time of the right-of-way, public or private yards, swales, easements adjacent to paved or unpaved roads. We also add an exception allowing temporary parking in the yard for social or other events held at a residence, providing such parking should not exceed 8 hours in a 24-hour period. Here we have an example that if you were to approve the ordinance as it stands now, which the edit was we removed the extra verbiage that went along with the sidewalks. We left it as the original. It just says sidewalks. But this is an example of one of the roads that we commonly get complaints about parking on the street. So if you approve it as is, this is an example that there is parking available for how many houses on that road. So we put little cars there to show like how they can park, including on the apron. And then this is another example of another common area that a road that we get complaints on where they would park in the streets, you can't get through. So these are some houses that, again, this kind of gives you an idea, utilizing their garages and utilizing their carports as parking, because those are required parking spaces available. So again, these are about the numbers of cars that would be, fit with the ordinance if you approve as is. I don't think it went, oh, sorry. There's the vehicles. Didn't realize it was that. And then I'll have planning and zoning go over current off-street parking regulations.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Kevin Fisher, the Planning and Zoning Division Director. So, not to bore you with getting into the details of code language, but just to provide a little context, I wanted to focus on the land development regulations and the requirements, focusing on single-family and two-family dwelling units. Before I do that, I think it can be easier to visualize parking requirements when we're talking about commercial uses or multifamily. With commercial, it's the square footage of the store, and then there's a multiplier, and that's how many, parking spaces you're gonna see in a lot. It's a little bit different with respect to single-family homes. So first, the code does require that driveways are constructed of a hard surface, think of concrete or asphalt. There is a limitation in the code not to exceed 40% of the minimum front yard area as an impervious surface. So you can see the little drawing, I'll call it there on the left. You can see that front yard area that's hatched. That's where that 40% impervious limitation is. Another thing to note is for the parking requirements for single and two-family homes, the driveway may be used to satisfy some or all of the parking space requirement. Obviously, the garage spaces count as well. Another note that in the code, there are requirements that if there is an addition, say a driveway is going to be expanded, if it exceeds an 800-foot expansion or results in less than 40% pervious surface on the entirety of the lot, that does trigger the requirements for drainage plan and calculations to ensure no concern with runoff. So in terms of the number of spaces required for these types of dwelling units, it's a minimum of 2 spaces are required for the unit or 1 space per bedroom, whichever is greater. So think, if it's a 4-story home, there would be that 4 space requirement. There is also a section of the code that addresses for new construction if a home has 5 or more bedrooms. On the plans at building permit, you're required to have the 4 spaces now, but you have to show on the plan how you can meet that additional parking requirement, such that if in the future you have more vehicles, you can't start using your grass or swales. So you have to have that built in to accommodate that future parking. I also do want to note that there are, especially with structures built, decades earlier, there are a number of non-conforming structures in the city. The code does have language that addresses those non-conforming structures, so they are able to, stay in use. I know I kind of ran through those quickly, and I know some of the concerns that staff has been hearing is if this ordinance were to go forward, the lack of parking and where would they go. I think some of the visuals Candace provided helped with that. So just wanted to throw out some thoughts from things that we've heard, and obviously it's up to the city commission. Clearly this is a second reading, move forward as the ordinance has been heard. Another thought was to the second bullet, if more of the concern was parking on the grass, parking in swales, to move forward with those changes and drop out the on-street parking, and maybe for certain districts. And then also, this would take a little bit more time than doing tonight, but staff can certainly look at other alternatives. I'm aware of some municipalities that allow semi-pervious surfaces, and that helps when you're doing that 40% calculation, so that's something we could easily explore. Also, making other amendments to the code, so with that.
Are there any comments or questions from the commission?
Yes. I don't have a problem with the public side of the parking, but I do have on the private property. So I would like to see that second option I think you talked about, because right now, I don't think the public has had an opportunity to really hash this out with the city. And I think it needs a little more discussion, because we have houses that were built some time ago, before all these codes and regulation came into to play. And in District 2, I know that there are some houses that don't have a garage and areas to park. And if we're going to really come down on those who are parking on the street, I think we really need to look at some individual cases that it's really going to be a problem. And to tell someone who's a senior citizen who's barely making it on their income now that they have to build a garage or, not a garage, but a concrete driveway, and they just can't afford it. And is the city going to subsidize that expense or help them out in some way? Or there's some grant money somewhere? I think we are moving a little too fast with the overall project. The public, I can see, because I have that problem on the street where I live. They park on both sides sometimes, and I have to turn around and go the opposite way. So, of course, that's a problem. But you got some of these houses where the streets are so narrow that it poses a real problem for them to do what we're saying. Some people I noticed, they have two cars, just two cars, and they can't park on the grass, of course, like they're doing now. So they're going to put both cars on the street, and that could be a problem. So we really need to take a closer look at the private side of this thing. So if we could somehow pass the public side of it and take a further study of the private side before we make that final decision, what the city is going to do and slap who on the wrist for what. So that's where I am.
I'm gonna comment on this last, because I'm gonna wait and see what you cover, but do you want to go ahead and say what you want to say, or do you want to let her do it?
Yeah, if you want to
Yeah, why don't you
respond
go
to that,
first and
then
then
I'll
yeah.
have some comments.
Amanda Radigan, Development Director. I did just want to make some comments because I spent some time looking at the street network, specifically in the two areas, Forest Park and the heart of Boynton. It is obvious that there are some areas within the heart of Boynton that are physically constrained. Parking on both sides of the street is unsafe, right? We can't get emergency vehicles through. It causes problems. The other side of that is that they're 20-foot paved roads. You can't park there and have two-way traffic. One of the alternatives that we discussed in-house with staff was the idea of designating on-street parking on a road like 13th and changing the flow of traffic to be one way. That's the only way you're going to safely possibly get some parking and safe traffic through. That's an option at some of the roads, I think, within the heart of Boynton to look at. Obviously, that has to be studied, it has to be vetted, we have to go through the overall network. But that is, in some of the areas within the older street networks, it's difficult because there are physical constraints.
Go ahead, Commissioner Turkin.
Thank you.
I don't want anyone.
Hold on, let him go, and then we'll come
Okay,
back
go
on
ahead.
it.
Go ahead.
No, I definitely, I definitely see where you're coming from, Commissioner Hay, and I think there's a happy median here of where we can accomplish considering these roadways and these houses that were built some time ago. And if you look at the plats, or maybe are different from some of the houses that are in different parts of the city, right? I don't want to look at like just allowing the continued free reign of 20 cars parked in, you know, the front yard, you know, or, you know, the use of like storage vehicle or vehicles being stored on lots in the backyard and the front yard. And, you know, so I think there's a reality where we can look at maybe identifying what those roadways are going to be that could be converted in one way to accomplish what Commissioner Hay is saying, as far as, you know, looking at those properties differently because of the infrastructure there, while also being able to hold the bad actors accountable in other areas of the city that have 5 or 6 cars in their front yard. So I don't know, City Attorney, if there's a way that we could craft this language to where we exclude potential roadways that are being looked at for that one-way designation or consideration. And then the other comment, if I can just get some clarification for something I'm a little bit confused about, is the timing of how long those vehicles are parked there and how we're going to manage that. I think we need to kind of illuminate that portion too. But I definitely want to try to accomplish something in the middle where we can, you know, still hold people accountable, but also can take into consideration that not all of these lots are built and the roads aren't built the same.
I think that would be easy to build into the ordinance if, specifically for the allowing some parking on streets on some areas where it's needed, if we do it by width of the paved area, because those are the constrained roads. So you don't want to designate certain roads, but you could say, if you have 20 feet or less of a roadway, you're exempt from this while we study this, right? Because I also don't think it's a long-term solution because there is a post-safety concern. But that would be one way to draft it.
I would draft it to say no parking unless designated by the city, and I would leave it by that. So you don't have to incorporate into the ordinance, and then we can designate those areas temporarily, and once you change direction, then it's a matter of putting up those signs that say on-street parking is permitted on this side of the road and those sorts of things. That would be the way to do it without having to come back and amend the ordinance again.
You know, I could understand that, and that's good. But I want us to understand that back in the 1950s, 60s, when many of those houses were built, I mean, what's done is done. But what I'm saying is that this city allowed violations to go uncontested. They should not have permitted many of those houses to be built as close to the road, for example, as they are. And for us to come back now and penalize those people for something that this city overlooked at the time that they were built, we need to really take another look. And I don't know if we could go do, I don't know, grandfather, I don't have the answer, but whether we grandfather in or we take them
Vice Mayor, what I can
piece.
say is if they were built legally, they are legally non-conforming and grandfathered in. There's 2 separate issues. There's the private property. Your house is where it is, your driveway is the maximum it could be. We actually have regulations that allow leniency for driveways on restricted properties. So that the private property, there are no problems with. Those are already built into the code. No one's going to force people to expand driveways unless they're parking on the street. That's a different set of regulations, and that is not within the land development regulations because that's public property, that's the road. So there won't be any issues on the private side per se with their built structure unless they have 4 cars and only 2 places to park cars on their property.
Let me ask another question. Thank you. If they're parking in the backyard, in the alley or whatever, and that car cannot be seen from the street as you ride by, is that a violation?
If you can't see it from the right of way, then no, it wouldn't be cited. No, again, like that would be a solution for some properties. Again, in these older neighborhoods, the street network is different. There are a lot of houses that are built up on the street and they have huge backyards.
Yeah.
But no way to get back there because the houses are built on each side. So there are physical constraints, and on the private side, like I said, we have lots of leniency for them. Usually in situations like this, there is on-street parking built to accommodate some of that. What I'm saying is the only way to accommodate that on some of these roads is to turn them into one-way.
So what about the other side of this scenario where the alleys are paved, but they're not considered public street as such? If I drove down that alley, then obviously I can see it. But if I can't see it from the front yard, even though the alley is a paved street, is that a violation?
Is it blocking the alley?
No, it's not blocking the alley. It's parked maybe in the yard or on pavers or
We wouldn't
whatever.
consider alleys on-street frontage. If you can't see it from the front, I think you're in a good place. Does that sound about?
Is if you can't, the public can't see it from the public right-of-way, from any public right-of-way. So that also means the neighbor, if they have a fence that's not wooden and they can see and they want to file a complaint and allow us in their backyard to view the car in the back.
It needs to be screened.
Correct.
If the neighbor complained that,
So any violation that's in the backyard or someone's property, if you can't see it from the road or the right-of-way, but your neighbor next to you has, like, you don't have a wooden fence, you have a see-through fence or a chain fence, and they want to allow code enforcement in their backyard to take a photo of your backyard, that's considered a public view.
I don't mean
We've
to,
had this
I don't
problem
mean
is-
to beat a dead horse here, but listen, there are people that have sheds and they have a fence, a 6-foot fence, but the shed goes up another 4 or 5 feet. It looks ugly. Can I complain about that? And
There
You understand
are
what I'm
shed
saying?
regulations,
This- there's going
they
to be a
are
lot of
regulated.
picking and subjectiveness in this that I'm trying to prevent.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the intent of this ordinance is the first three concerns that Candace covered. It's to minimize blight, to maximize safety, and to minimize some of the maintenance issues that we're having. I think there are issues in code where if someone is complaining about something else, we may have to take action, but as long as those three things are covered and we're not causing visual blight, it's behind the building, it's screened, I don't think that they would be actively citing for something like this.
Backyards and back areas where code enforcement can't see a public right-of-way are pretty much always complaint-driven.
Well, we've had such an issue in Forest Park where we've had backyards that are full of 6 cars with no tires and rust and have been there for 10 years. So the fact that we just didn't enforce this, so bygones, I can't stand behind that. I can tell you, I've received more emails in favor of getting the cars off of the grass. And you guys have been doing an amazing job on the weekends, and you will hit a house on Southwest or Southeast 7th. It'll be good for a couple weeks this weekend, parking lot again. I think that this is 2 phases to this. I think that when these homes were built, you only had so many people living in the homes. I think it also goes down to cracking down on landlords. I'm a real estate broker, I do leases every day, and in that lease, it says there are specifically 2 parking places for this property. The landlords are not doing that. So this is a bigger problem, but at the end of the day, it's something that I will stand behind, that it has to be resolved. We cannot have parking lots in the yards anymore. We can't have 9 cars in a 2-bedroom apartment. At max, there would be 3 cars there if allowed by a landlord, but it'd really only be 2. So I defer to you guys to educate us, but we know the problems, and I've had more emails and phone calls to change this parking ordinance and sit back and say, let's just let it be the same. And did I hear it right, that we're the only city in the county that does not do this?
That doesn't strictly enforce it. That is
I don't even know
correct.
how we got here. I don't even know how we got here.
By not changing it for the last 20 years.
Right, and then we wonder why we've had a hard time rebranding the city, or why all the good things that we're doing, we still have that same reputation as I go out and the mayor of this city and have to defend this city every single day. We're lucky that we're not looking at toilets today, and I'm very grateful across the street, but we're never gonna clean up this city and the downtown with everything we have coming if you drive on Seacrest and you see multiple cars in yards.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Mayor. And again, I think there's a way to accomplish both, because my concern is exactly that. And, if we look at, I actually had a resident in Inca approach me on Sunday about this very issue, and, someone that's pretty involved, and they mentioned, well, don't you guys already regulate the vehicles via the Airbnb ordinance, right? I think it's one vehicle per bedroom plus one, so, that's being regulated, right? But overall, at a macro level, it seems that there's a gray area here. I did not know we were the only city in the county, which, is definitely concerning. And, I think the other thing to think about too is property values, right? If you're doing your best, you're participating in the city's, yard of the year or yard of the month program, and you do your best, and your neighbors, have 4 or 5 vehicles in the driveway, they're spilling oil, which also creates other potential environmental issues with these vehicles just, sitting there, that's a concern too. And so, I definitely understand the sentiment, of the earlier comments, and I think there is a way to accomplish both, where again, we hold those bad actors accountable, while we, can look at those one-way roads that,
I
may be
will
designated.
say, approving this ordinance the way it stands today doesn't prohibit us from looking at street modifications to add on-street parking. So both can be accomplished today. The ordinance can be passed in its form, the way it stands before you, and you can direct staff to continue looking at possible street modifications for physically constrained roadways.
And the timing is, it's 8 hours, any vehicle that's parked there over 8 hours.
Right.
Currently, it's 8 hours within a 24-hour period. So if you're having a party or something like that, it doesn't go on more than 8 hours. The way they enforce that, because they're not allowed to physically touch the vehicle or mark, they used to chalk tires, they cannot do that. They can digitally take a picture, or they can mark the street and then measure the distance from where it was to tell whether or not it's still in the same position or if it's moved and left. However, technically, someone could leave for an hour and come back and restart that 24-hour period, 8 hours in a 24-hour period. But
So let me just let you know where that came from. So if we say no parking on the street, no parking on the yard, if we don't put an exception in there with some sort of time frame, then you do run into the issue of I'm having a party, I'm having an open house, and code or police come over, service aid, whoever, and see a car out there, and they're just gonna automatically, give the warning first, but then it could be, a ticket after that, where you want some type of exception in there to allow time. The reason why I chose 8 hours, I did base that off of another city. They do add 8 hours. You could do 12 hours if you like. But if you go beyond that, it's going to be very hard for code enforcement or police to monitor and actually be able to enforce it. Because as the ordinance stands now, a car can be parked on the right-of-way for 36 hours as long as it's moved for a half hour out of those 36 hours. It's impossible to enforce.
Okay, well, everybody pretty much leaves their house for 30 minutes and 36 hours usually.
Exactly.
Unless you're disabled or something, I understand. And then you're probably not driving.
Overnight, so I think looking at what is that time frame gonna be overnight? If you're having a party, you know what I mean? If you get the vehicle, is 8 hours enough, maybe 12 hours? I think
12 hours would be good. If you say overnight parking, then you're leaving out the daytime where there's an open house on a Saturday
I
at
think
12.
12 hours is good, like 6 to 6. Somebody goes to a party and they might have had too much to drink and they're gonna stay at this person's house. There's,
Mayor,
please.
thank you. Amanda, thank you for touching on the non-conforming, because I think that that's important. I know I talked about it and wanted you to actually kind of discuss the options when we have residents that, want to make sure they can park their vehicles, but as of, because of when their home was built and because of requirements at the time, many years ago, they're non-conforming. So thank you for talking about that and how we can kind of leave that out of the equation. So if they're non-conforming, what is then their requirement, or what are they permitted to still do when they're non-conforming? So if they have a driveway and then maybe, like, what exactly are they permitted to do when they're non-conforming?
So non-conforming means that they can maintain their structures and their site the way they are, as long as it was legally built. What that also means is that there is, by case basis, some common sense that we have to apply to how the site is functioning without taking away use of their property. You can see that all over the heart of Boynton right now. There are some situations where there are a single-family home, and it does look, I won't say a parking lot, but they have like paved to pavement because they have 3 cars and the lots are 25, 30 feet wide and they needed to park 3 cars. So as long as they're working and we can figure out that they're draining properly, we would allow that to happen. So it's by case basis, some common sense, the code allows us to make some modifications if infeasible.
So what do you suggest moving forward when residents have a question? Because what I see happening is this will happen and then maybe it won't even be code, but they'll wonder, what do I do? How does this affect me? What is the best course of action for them to make sure, that they're getting the right answers, they're getting the right information. It's not, just ending up as public comments and that it becomes an effective communication with the city, because I feel like anytime we change anything, we've seen it, anytime we're changing ordinances, that affect private property or public property, there really has to be some grace and understanding in, in changing it, how this is going to affect someone. I do want to have the conversation about the semi-permeous materials and what the alternatives are if somebody wants to put a car pad on their property to allow for additional vehicle that didn't have it previously. And so I want to have those conversations. And then, but in option 2, where it says maintain most proposed changes, but amend it to allow street parking. In those street parking, and one of the biggest concerns with the allowing for street parking is when you have parking on both sides of the street, our emergency vehicles cannot go down the street. And as Vice Mayor Hay said, he can't even drive down the street in his smaller car. So what can we do? Is the suggestion that it's on-street parking on one side of the street? Do we do that to move forwards, allowing for street parking, but also making sure that our emergency vehicles, and the public has access?
I have a
Until
question
until we continue the conversation about whether we're doing one-way roads or what we do. What does this amended proposed option look like?
I also have a question is, how do you pick what side of the street?
Yeah.
Right? Because if it's my side of the street, I'm not going to be very happy.
Half of the street will be upset.
Right.
I mean, there are like HOA solutions, which again is not, not efficient for the city to manage. Like in some HOAs, it's like evens and odds, right? Like that's not sustainable, and we want to make sure we're striping spaces, so it would be one side of the street. So what that option would say would be to essentially leave on street the way it is now. Is not do anything, allow us to continue to study the network, and we can say that that is just for, constrained roadways. We can say that it is just for the heart of Boynton while we study street networks. I don't think that we can commit to making a one-way street out of 13th right now without going through the proper engineering, studies, traffic flow, all of those things. So the interim would be to just leave right-of-ways out or leave right-of-ways in certain areas out for now. Kind of the status quo in some areas. Or we move forward with the ordinance and we start the study of converting some of these roads and see what's feasible.
And then also, we would need to educate,
Yes.
obviously, the community, just like we did on the bulk day.
Yes.
And it's
and
going to take a
we'll-
couple rounds, and
We'll create diagrams, we'll show people where they can park. Also, if there are any questions, like planning staff meets with people all day long. Our kind of general mailbox is pzmailbox@bbfl.us. If there are specific questions that people have, they can always email us. We'll set up time to talk to people.
And we have a outreach coordinator in code enforcement, and I've already spoken to her to get with PD and code in their parking enforcement to actually create flyers, and they will not have the word violation on them. It's just an ordinance update, and that way, they know it's educational, and they will go door to door. We're going to do flyers in the mail, flyers at City Hall, wherever we can to get the word out and educate, and that's already in the process, the educational component.
Let me say this. There are too many unanswered questions still for me to move ahead with this full project. I feel that, let me ask the what if. What if we have a senior citizen who's barely making it, but they agree to put a driveway in, okay, to try to be in compliance with whatever we decide here? Would there be any city assistance in any way to help them with this grant funding or whatever to help that senior citizen out who wants to comply but don't have the funding to do it?
Would we be able to use CDBG or SHIP dollars for, yeah, and I,
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
maybe
I
that's-
haven't been able to say anything the whole night. I want to say something real quick. All right, I agree. I understand your concerns, Commissioner Hay, with your district. I'd like to kind of have respect for you and your constituents with their concerns. I have a bit of a concern with the effective date of the ordinance being effective immediately, because I don't believe that gives enough time for staff to even adequately understand what they're going to be enforcing. So I do have concerns with that. There are still a lot of unanswered questions. We've been in a lengthy discussion for, I want to say, potentially an hour, and there are still questions from the district commissioner and as well as other members. So I would be okay if we wanted to table this and have more of an understanding, or if we could amend it in a way that leaves it open for us to revisit this with a different ordinance to address those concerns. But I also have concerns with us giving one side of the road access to parking and not the other side, because then we're not treating people equally. So I do have concerns with that. It just opens a whole can of worms.
So it wouldn't be that one side only has access to it. Public parking, anyone can park on it, but it would be situated on only one side of the street. But of course, like, anyone can use that parking space. Obviously, it's up to the commission if you guys want to table this. I think at this point, though, we would need more direction on what questions you'd like answered. There's multiple parts to this. This ordinance is purely restricting parking based on safety issues, maintenance issues, and blight issues. The LDR components about flexibility for building driveways and grant possible funding, those are things that we can continue to explore that are separate from this ordinance.
when you use the caregiver, again, I obviously think we should explore this caregiver situation, but if somebody's on a fixed income and they are needing a caregiver, are you implying that the caregiver can't park there, or the person in the home that would need to put a driveway in? Because how many cars do they need? Do they have 6 cars? Because that's what we're seeing, and so we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We just see what's on the outside. So, I get it. The city's like, hey, we haven't done this for 30 years. Why do it now? Well, we have to do it now. We have no choice.
And I can see that point, what the mayor is saying, but by the same token, let me ask you, Amanda, have we had discussion with the public, with the citizen, open discussion about the dialogue and what their challenges are?
About road modifications or about the safety constraints of parking on right-of-ways?
Well, we may get some good ideas from, if we open this up for discussion and have some workshops or talks with the public, the ones who are directly affected, okay? They
can
can
show
tell
you
you
about
what their
50
problems are and maybe come up with a solution that might be a good idea. I just feel that we're moving a little too fast, okay, on this whole project. I can go with the, I've already said what my position is, but I just have a real concern about the impact that this is going to have in the areas. I know in District 2, and I know of a few down in District 3, okay, that there's going to be a problem. But it's going to be a heavily problem in District 2, and I just want to make sure that we are going down the right road and approaching this the right way. I'm not against it at all. I'm all for it, okay? But I just feel that the public, the private side of it, we don't have all the answers yet.
Commissioner Hay, I think that, being that the city is the only one in the county that doesn't have some of these safety things in play already, tell staff at least that we're moving in the right direction. I do think that you are absolutely correct that we need to look for design options and flexibility options on the private side.
Yes.
And staff can commit to doing that. But that is, again, separate from passing this ordinance.
No.
This ordinance, in my opinion, this is obviously up to the commission as a whole, this ordinance addresses the safety issues because whoever is parking on the streets, if a fire truck can't get through, that it's hard for staff to sit here and suggest that that's a good idea, because if someone can't get through and can't get the access to the services that they need, that's another problem versus where are they parking their car. So from a staff side, from a public safety side, at least in a regulation world, I can separate those two issues and say, this is still what I feel is the right recommendation, and we can continue to find creative solutions for those areas that are affected on the private side.
That I can live with, okay? Because I don't want to stop the project at all. I want to move forward, just like you just said. But we need to look for other options.
Solutions,
and I think that we waited this long. As the mayor said, we've been 30 years. We have to address it. But I don't think we're quite there yet. So that's where I am.
What would it take to, and this may be an ordinance that we haven't had into play or that other municipalities have, but what about if you have a 2-bedroom and having 3 cars? That's not allowed?
Do you mean like a parking maximum?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
we have
that happens when I sell a property, that happens when I do a lease. It's very specific where your parking is, no matter where you live, you are designated that parking. So if that might be.
We do have that already on the commercial side. We do not have it on the private, on the residential side. The way it's governed on the residential side is not by how many parking spaces, it's about how much driveway you can fit, and that's the only place you can park. So it is regulated. It's just not saying you could only have 3 cars. Because if you're using your garage for parking, great. If you're using it for storage, then your use of your property.
Yeah, you own 6 clown cars, you can put them in one driveway, I got it, but that's not the reality. We're looking at trucks and cars and buses, and I have to say, a lot of photos were submitted on this when we did our first reading for a slideshow, and if we need to bring that back up again, it's only gonna be more, because I've only received much more emails, more weekend issues, and we know this is such a problem on the weekend, because they know you're out now, they're prepared for it.
We still need public comment on the item as well, too. So
Right.
just save some time for that.
Do we want to?
Is there any way to pass part of the ordinance without the questionable portion where we can move forward with the concerns and then maybe leave the rest to allow staff to do more research or what's the
That would be
recommendation?
to remove the right-of-ways from the ordinance, meaning you're
Yeah,
only
you
addressing.
would remove the enforcement arm of, and I think the dais is split here because we brought the parking ordinance forward, or the changes to 14-5 because it was asked. And if you remove the enforcement aspect, code's not going to have the ability to do the corrective action that a portion of the dais is looking for. So if we do remove that, the ordinance is going to be essentially benign.
And so we can go another 20 years, 30 years, and the problem only gets worse and we do nothing about it as we're ready to build out a downtown and we say we want to
Well,
attract people
it's
here.
not 20 years if staff's working on it right now and doing research right now.
Yeah, it's been 20 years in the neighborhood that it's been an ongoing problem. This is the first time the city's ever talked about it and responded to it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to move forward to public comment, and then, I plan on making a motion.
Anyone would like to come down and speak on this issue? Now is the time.
Ramona Young. The horse has been beaten and revived and beaten again. And I hear you skim over certain things, but you don't get specific. I am originally born in New York City, and alternate street of the parking has been in effect for 75 years. Works very well, especially in the snow. And you put your car on one side of the street, the next day or whatever day it is, the cars go to the other side of the street. Nobody is exempt. Nobody's offended because that's the rule, and it's simple. You guys boggled my mind here. And you didn't consider the citizens, which I think that you should send a survey. You said something about a workshop. Well, they're not going to all come. They're not going to all answer the survey, but if you send out a hard copy document asking them what their particulars are in their home, then you might get a better idea rather than stand here and say, well, it's this and maybe they have that, because you're only going from your perspective. You're not getting the whole city. So I would suggest a survey, which I talked about it previously, a survey of the people to see how they think. It's they that are parking. And alternate side of the street parking is simple. Out west Boynton, in some of the developments, they have odd days and even days. When you pull up to go visit a friend, whether it's a party or not, you park on the odd side today, and it's what, it's the street number that's the odd side. Whatever the house number is odd, or the next day is even. Don't make it, you guys blew it all out of proportion. And I think that if you even consider the seeds that I'm trying to plant here, that it'll work out. But you gotta ask the people. Those are the ones that are parking. Those are the ones that have 3 cars. Those are the ones that you should consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. This is one of my favorite topics, so I'm excited for this. So I think you all need to be looking at it a couple ways. You need to say flat one car per bedroom. Because whether it's an Airbnb, which I have 3 across the street from me, or it's, whatever, grandma has the house and all 5 kids move back and their kids and they all have a car. Whatever the issue is, and every family is different, but you all really should be looking at the no more than 1 car per bedroom, minimum 2 car, so that even a 1-bedroom house has 2 spaces in their driveway. I also think you need to look at doing something a little more eco-friendly. I have no problem with you parking on your grass. It's your grass. Get the cars the heck out of the street. People need to be able to drive down that street. Ambulances and fire trucks need to drive down the street. Park on your grass. If you kill your grass, that's your problem for having too many cars. I have no problems with that, but I know that's not the popular story. So, do what you want. But I really think you should be looking at finding a way to do the gravel or grid and gravel system, or a grid and grass system, so that you still have the permeability, but yet you have the parking and you have the structure. And I mean, obviously, I got the city commission to approve mine, and you all have been by my house at some point, most if not all of you, and it works very, very effectively, and I don't have flooding problems anymore, yet we're able to park and it still looks good. They do it everywhere in the rest of the world. Why are we not doing it here? And it would solve a lot of problems. It's not horribly expensive. It's dealing with your urban heat problem that you're doing the climate workshops on. So why not find a way to offer that as a grant and offer that going forward? I should not be the only house in this city that has a grid and gravel system or a grid and grass system. So I think that would solve a lot of your problems. I've seen a lot of my neighbors who've done that. They have the straight driveways, but they have a 4-bedroom house. So they've now added a gravel portion onto their straight driveway to expand to allow the 4. And that seems logical. It solves the problem. It's environmentally correct. It's a win-win-win. Why are we not encouraging more of that? Not everyone has the space to have a circle driveway. So why are we not exploring those options? It would solve problems. But I absolutely think you need to have no more than 1 car per bedroom, except for that 8 hours, because yes, we're all going to have family and friends over for birthday parties or holidays. You know, what is your option? Are you going to put a city park in every neighborhood where there's a parking area for the overflow? Maybe people should go and ask their neighbors, hey, can my family park in your driveway for the next day while they're here on the holidays? So there's options. Thank you.
Next, please.
Hello, Sandra Watson. I've been hearing most of the complaints is about District 2, right? Now, the older houses in District 2, they have enough yard that they can park 5 cars. They have the yard. The problem is that we keep building all of these 0 lot line houses, and you got people that have like 5 cars, right? They can't park those cars. Why are we still building these 0 lot line houses? You got these apartment buildings that you just built on Martin Luther King, right? And you have sideway parking on the street. You can't get through, right? I go down 13th, I can't get through because every house has 10 cars there. There should not be any parking on the street. The fire truck can't get through. Commissioner Hay can't get through. I can't get through, right? And if we stop just jamming all of these apartment buildings, where are they going to park on these apartments that you guys just built, that you allowing to be built by the railroad track? Where are they going to park? What we're doing is we're just stuffing houses in. And now you want to penalize people who actually have the parking space, because District 2 houses, I know in my mom's yard, I can park 5 cars in the back, 5 cars on the side, and never be in the road because of the yard space. But what we're doing is that you're penalizing, so you want to penalize these people because we've allowed developers to come here and cram us in. Now we have no parking. Now we have no space. And then we're allowing renters to rent houses out to families that have 10 people that have cars parked in the back, in the front, out on the parkway, on the sidewalk, everywhere. We have to stop that. You got to give them a limit. If you want to do one car per bedroom, I'm fine with that. But don't penalize people who have the parking space and can park the correct way by just saying, oh, no, you can't park on the side. We don't need any on the side of the parking road thing. What we need is let everybody park in their parking lot, in their parkway, and that's just it. All of this, stop cramming in these houses. Just stop cramming in all these condos where people don't have places to park. Now, and now we want to come up with this ordinance and start penalizing everybody because they don't have a place to park. And we're allowing it, we're doing it. That's it.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Barbara Reedy. The town I grew up in had alternate street parking, and it was tied to the date of the month. Like today's the 4th, You get to park on the even side. And when tomorrow morning came, you had to get up bright and early and move your car to the other side of the street, you know, like 10 o'clock or something. So I think that maybe that would be an alternate idea. I understand the idea and what the goal was, putting the swales in. I mean, it was a good goal to try and stop the water from running downhill and flooding the other area. But the swales have caused their own problems. The mailboxes are leaning. The asphalt at the side of the streets are crumbling. So I would be concerned with on-street parking. With a fire truck trying to go by, even one car parked on one side of the street because of the crumbling asphalt that's going on. That's a concern. I would agree with Susan that, you know, let them park on the grass. It's their own grass. If they want to kill it, let them kill it. You know, you can't, they're not allowed to park in the swales, so don't let them park in the swales, whatever, you know, works. The other concern is, I have a friend on Southwest 13th who lives next door to a sober house. I'm wondering how sober homes are being addressed, because the sober home next door to her has 10 cars being parked at the sober home, and they're in her swale, in her grass, blocking, you know, basically her property with all of the cars at the sober home. So I don't know whether it's addressed with the business license that's given to the sober homes, or how do you address the sober home problem? Because those people, if you allow 4 people per bedroom, or however many people are allowed per bedroom, and there's 4 bedrooms, now exponentially you've got 16 cars potentially. So, I don't know, just another worry.
All right. Any other public comment?
Hey there. Kimberly Chase here to speak about Grayson Heights. Tom, you know, there was a real brief part of this discussion of parking where, Tom, you said, oh, we don't have to worry about the Airbnbs. I came here a year ago and spoke with you. You've done nothing. So let me tell you what happens with parking at an Airbnb neighborhood. There is parking on both sides of the street. When I've called about it, I've been ignored by code. The police have told me to have the cars towed. They're parked in front of my house. And it's an Airbnb. And nobody's parked in front of their house, and that's a problem for me. Then I was also told that they're now parking at Walmart. I happened to notice driving home off the old Dixie Highway that's there behind Walmart, lines and lines of cars. Go any night, you'll see 8 cars behind, what is it, Seabourn Cove? Right? So Seabourn Cove, there's a line of cars. I would suspect they have parking accommodations at Seabourn Cove. I don't know who all those cars belong to, but that's what's going to happen unless these residents in Commissioner Hayes' district have a place to park. They're searching for places to park. They'll use, you know, public whatever they can do, like the Walmart. And I can just say this, as I said, is not being addressed, Tom. It's not being addressed. Unregistered guests, unsupervised children, bins. You're all worried about parking. We have garbage bins all in our roads in your district, Tom. I've mentioned it to you before. I've mentioned it to Pat. I've mentioned it to Candace. And doesn't seem to be anything worth doing anything other than giving somebody a phone call about. So that also blocks emergency vehicles. Police seem unaware. Dispatch, like I said, told me to have cars towed. Code won't enforce this. They say call law enforcement. Law enforcement thinks it's silly. Tom, you and code enforcement continue to ignore having a consequence to property owners who ignore the Airbnb rules, just as the landlords that Mayor Shelton mentioned. That's why I'm drawing the analogy. Leaving an Okay, 8 to 12-hour parking window means that partying vacationers invite more company. Or the landlord may come and throw their own party in the rental home for 8 to 12 hours, which is exactly what happened on Super Bowl Sunday. And now you can.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, please.
Hi, Derek Calhoun. It occurs to me that cars are very closely tied to employment. Car is pretty much a prerequisite to get to and from a job. So as we talk about this, it makes me wonder, what are we doing for public transit to make sure that maybe we need fewer cars? If there are 8 cars in front of a home or an apartment, why are there so many people trying to live in that place? Well, the cost of living is too high. What are we doing on affordable housing? Those don't really seem like they're getting the same amount of creativity and intensity, and I feel like we're sort of penalizing people for having vehicles, which are a prerequisite to be employed, and then we're getting angry at people for causing blight, which is icky, which is really another way of saying we don't like seeing poor people. So maybe let's help them out.
Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I just want to address some misinformation. I'm not going to allow staff to get dragged. I'm not going to allow myself to get dragged when this body 3 years ago had developed restriction to short-term rentals, which was extremely hairy and extremely difficult because of the preemption with Tallahassee. So I'm not going to sit here and allow the public perception that not just myself, but any mayor or any commissioner has unilateral authority to dictate or regulate anything. That is the city manager's office via code, via ordinance that this body establishes. And I've seen the emails, and I know how much time that staff has put into this. There's only so much the city can do. Everybody is entitled to their property rights. And I brought this forward because I had.
Please keep. Ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, if you're going to explode, I understand. But just, we don't need the disruptiveness at the moment.
So,
Continue.
so it's important to identify that when there was an issue, this body collaboratively decided.
Ma'am. Please. Please, just know you had your moment for public comment.
And you can talk for yours. And it is important to identify that this body listened and created legislative policy to then allow code enforcement to regulate those issues. So I know how hard this staff works. Nobody is perfect, but I'm not going to allow that perception that they have done nothing or this body has done nothing to regulate short-term rentals. That is unfair to every person who sits up on this dais. That is unfair to every person who works hard for this city to continue to make it safe and a place that we want to call home. So, you know, I'm going to call that out, and you know, I'm disappointed to hear that, staff is, staff is being addressed that they don't do anything. Because I will say, as much of a hard time we give Candace and her department, that is one of the hardest departments to be in. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. One area of the city has those issues, another area of the city doesn't have those issues. With regards to this ordinance, what I've seen in my neighborhood is the abandonment of vehicles stationary in grass lots. I'm not sure what the issue is or how prevalent it is in other areas of the city, but I know from my residents and my neighbors, they don't want to see these inoperable vehicles staying, parked in these areas, night after night after night. And I think that's all what we're trying to accomplish here is, we don't want to penalize anybody. And what we want to do is make sure that we are holding ourselves to the beautification standards that our residents deserve, that we're not even on par with the county. And so, with that, I'll make a motion to approve this ordinance with the adjustment of moving the hours from 8 to 12.
Correct, and you also want to include the portion relating to, except where authorized or designated by the city.
Yes, yes, yes.
Can we also work on the effective date to give staff a reasonable amount of time to train, to know what they're doing?
Agree, and
Maybe
notice to
January
educate.
1st or 3
Educate-
months?
And also,
Yeah.
can we
Yeah.
have a meeting? I know that there's a lot of concerns in District 2. Can we have staff have a meeting in District 2 to talk about that? Because I know that Commissioner Hay had a lot of concerns.
And we should
Or
invite
or
District
anywhere
3
really
too,
that's,
yeah.
anywhere that the community's concerned, so that before the effective date of the ordinance, so that staff has time to have those conversations.
And we
have a
can
motion,
modify.
so
And we can make any changes. I mean, we'd have to hear it again, but if there's significant changes that need to be
no, I
made.
can change it based upon the direction. So what I hear right now is a motion to approve the ordinance with an addition to allow parking where designated by the city.
Yes.
An effective date of January 1, to change the parking to 12 hours and a 24-hour period, and direction to staff to have a meeting in District 2 prior to the January 1 effective date.
I would say 90 days. We're going into the holidays.
February 1 effective date.
February 1.
And I also think that we need to add some type of education into District 3 and communication.
Yeah.
That's, again, people
Golden
aren't going to
Harbor
come
also
to the
has street
meeting like they
parking, so
will.
I would suggest we do it in every district where these ordinances will be relevant, so we could do one in each district if necessary.
And the date for that meeting in District 2 and wherever else needs to be set, maybe not now, but what is this? This is November, at least by our next meeting.
Well, have the date set, but, okay, so would you like the meeting to occur within a certain time frame?
By the effective date, I think is
Before
what
the
was stated.
effective
Prior to
date.
the effective date.
At least one meeting.
But you want it
But I think-
scheduled,
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
but you want it scheduled prior to our
Before
next
the
meeting?
effective date.
Before the effective
Before
date.
the effective date.
And I ask the board to keep in mind that when people can't attend meetings, their emails can be just as much as public record, and public input, I should say. So take those into consideration, that we are going to the holidays. Some people have kids, some people work evenings, they can't be there. So if you get community input, take it for what it's worth.
And we'll be sure to share the print materials with you all in your email, so you all can forward it to constituents that you get direct access to.
We have a motion. All right, let's clarify the motion
Yes.
for the record. A motion to approve the ordinance as amended to allow 12-hour parking within a 24-hour period, to allow parking in areas designated by the city, and to also provide effective date for February 1 with a meeting in District 2 prior to the effective date, and District 3 prior to the effective date.
And District 1 as well.
Well,
And
really
district-
just citywide.
Just
And
citywide.
citywide. Okay.
And who made that motion? I will second it.
Yeah.
So we do have a motion and we do have a second, and
Were
I'm
you
not going to
okay with that
repeat all
Yes,
of
I'm
that.
okay with that.
Yes. I'll
All those
second
in favor say aye.
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 Oh, no, it's roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call.
I got it, see? It's roll call.
Very good.
It's getting to be 9 o'clock, so I'll do that about 3 more times, but.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hay,
Yes.
Mayor Shelton,
Yes.
and roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, moving on. I'll turn to the clerk to read 8B into the record.
Proposed ordinance number 25-034, second reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Part 3, Land Development Regulations, Chapter 2, Land Development Process, Article 6, Impact and Selected Fees, to establish a phase implementation schedule for the city's mobility fee, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, so this is the second reading. Are there any changes to this item?
There have been no changes to this item.
Okay, that being said, are there any comments from the commission?
No.
Do we have any public comment on this item? If so, now is the time to come down. Okay, if there's nothing else, may we have a motion to approve proposed
moved.
ordinance number
Second.
25-034? We have a motion from Commissioner Turkin and a second from Vice Mayor Hay. Let's turn to the clerk for a roll call. I'm so proud of myself.
Good job.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin? Commissioner Cruz? Absent. Vice Mayor Hay,
Yes.
Mayor Shelton,
Yes.
and a roll call vote, the motion passed 4-0.
Okay, moving on, I'll turn to the clerk to read 8C into the record. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you needed a second, right?
Proposed ordinance number 25-035, first reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending Part 3, Land Development Regulations, Article 2, Planning and Zoning Division Services, Section 4, Relief Applications by amending subsection F, Requests for Accommodation, in order to provide procedures for handling and processing records for accommodation from the city's land development regulations, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date, and for all purposes.
So this is the first reading. Would you like to start your presentation?
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. This ordinance is.
Can you
stems
please state your name for the record?
Oh, yes, so sorry. George Lagos, City Legal Department. This stems from State Bill 954, which was actually enacted and has become Florida Statute Section 397.487. The specific subsection of that statute is subsection 15, which actually requires municipalities and counties to enact ordinances regarding the establishment of certified recovery residences. The effective date of the statute was July 1st of this year, 2025. The deadline for counties and municipalities to enact such an ordinance is January 1st, 2026. Thus, the speed, of course, that we're bringing this up to the commission for first reading and then subsequent second reading. The section that's being added, it's actually an entire section of the, let me go to the actual component here that I had. It's under subsection F for requests for accommodations. Rather than parsing in and adding in additional language into subsection 1 of F, we entered in an entirely new section specifically for the statute to comply. So we're just trying to make sure that the city ordinance complies with Florida statute before the January 1st, 2026 deadline.
Okay.
Have any questions as far as?
Any comments or questions from the board?
No.
Public comment is permitted at this time. Anyone like to come down and speak?
Mayor, there's nobody online either. No.
There's nothing else. May we have a motion to approve proposed ordinance number 25-035 on first
So moved.
reading?
Second.
We have a first and we have a second. All those, roll call.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin is absent. Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hay?
Yes.
Mayor Shelton?
Yes.
And a roll call vote, the motion passed 4-0.
Great.
Thank you.
So there is no city manager report. Moving on to the regular agenda. I'll turn to the clerk to read 10A into the record. This is the first reading.
Proposed ordinance number 25-036, first reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, adding Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 2-60 to the City Code of Ordinance entitled Public-Private Partnerships, establishing procedures for public-private partnerships and unsolicited proposals, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Staff, do you have a presentation?
Good evening, Ian Grigorczyk, Assistant City Attorney. In 2015, the City Commission passed a resolution for public-private partnerships. In 2024, the Florida statute was amended and updated regarding unsolicited proposals, so we would just like to update our ordinance accordingly. What this ordinance does is implements that process for the city to receive, review, and proceed with unsolicited P3 proposals, and also implements an application fee of $25,000. Thank you.
That's it? All right. Great, I like that.
Okay.
With that presentation, I don't really understand what this is doing differently. There's not a lot of.
Okay, previously there was an ordinance, and this is something that should really be codified and be in a codification, because what happened when we had a previous public-private partnership, staff was not aware of the ordinance requiring a fee for an unsolicited P3 proposal. Therefore, the fee was not collected. There were other requirements that staff did not do. So this is, what this is doing is creating an ordinance so that people will know, and it will be on the books, as this really should be the proper place. And it also requires that if someone comes to us and presents us with an unsolicited P3, they have to provide a $25,000 application fee because of the cost that goes into staff's time and work and having to assess whether or not it's something the city wants to do and whether it's feasible and appropriate for a P3.
So what do we currently require for a P3, for an unsolicited P3? Anybody can just come and solicit and say, I want to do this, and they just pay $25,000 and they get it?
They don't necessarily get it. There's
So
a
then
lot
what's
that
the
has to go.
process?
So a P3, just so you're aware.
Public-private partnership.
Yeah. With regard to the process, and that's the problem, the process is a little bit unclear, and that's why we're essentially codifying it so that it's aware. But I believe the fee now, and don't quote me because I don't have the resolution in front of me, is $15,000. And so if we don't expend all of that funds, they do have a mechanism to get anything that wasn't expended back. But there is an initial fee of $25,000 to actually, for the city to consider their bid.
And this is in alignment with Florida statute, and that's why we're making this change now.
Correct.
Right. So it's not something that we've just
All right.
No, this is
came
not
out of the
something.
sky. This is something that
correct.
was
This-
on the books.
This is doing
The
two
law
things.
changed, and we need to
This
change
is
it.
Right. This
Right.
is doing two things. It's making an ordinance so that if in 10 years we're all gone and you have a new city attorney and a new procurement person and we get a P3 proposal, if it's just a resolution, no one's going to go through and scan through all the resolutions. So this, by codifying it, it ensures that people who are applying know what the rules are and that new staff that comes on board and the commissioners also know. And what it also does is it does increase the amount of the fees that the city is going to charge. The situation I'm talking about in our prior situation is now in litigation. There was some vetting for financial viability that needed to be done per the resolution at that time that was not done. This codifies all that to make sure we as a city are doing this properly when we consider these type of projects before going into a contract.
I have a question. Would these P3s then come to commission ever? Or?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
It's not like it's an automatic approval, it's just
No,
the
no, no.
process.
No, what happens, and I'll explain it to you, Commissioner Cruz, someone would come in and they would submit this to city staff. City staff then vets it, one, to make sure it's actually viable. Do they have the financial means to do this, right? Because you don't want someone coming in proposing an $8 million deal when maybe they only make $25,000 a year, right? So that's obviously not going to be something that's viable if they can't prove that they have the financial backing to actually carry through with that $8 million project.
In the past, thank you for that, sorry. In the past, and maybe it was different, but with the CRA, we would receive an unsolicited proposal per se, and then we would post it on the newspaper, and then we had to give 30 days for anybody to come in and provide their inputs as well, and then it will come to commission. Is that still the process?
Yes, that is still the process, and that is outlined in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion to approve number 25-036 on the first reading. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
No, we need a roll call, please.
Oh, the roll call. Damn.
Commissioner Kelly?
I almost had a good
Yes.
record of it. You can tell, gets that 9 o'clock hour, I start getting tired.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Yes. First reading.
Vice Mayor Hay?
Yes.
Mayor Shelton?
Yes.
In roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
Okay. Yep. Moving on, I'll turn to the clerk to read 10B into the record.
Proposed ordinance number 25-037, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, submitting to referendum an amendment to the city charter, adding a preamble to the city charter to establish the foundational.
I'm sorry. Never mind, we'll talk later. I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Purposes and principles of city governance, providing for a notice of an advertisement of the referendum election to be published in accordance with the State of Florida Election Code, providing that the ordinance, when adopted, shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, on the March 2026 general municipal election ballot and shall become effective as provided by law, providing for conflict, severability, and effective date.
Staff, go ahead.
Yeah, there's 5 charter amendment ordinances. We'll have commission discuss each one separately. So the first is just that charter preamble. It's that proposed text up there. And it's shall the city charter be amended to add that preamble.
I have a question for the entirety of the proposed charter amendments. Are we using taxpayer dollars to campaign for any of these charter amendments?
Dan?
Are we using taxpayer money?
I have a question. Are we using taxpayer dollars to campaign for or against any of these charter amendments that are being proposed?
Nothing's even being, this body has to decide anything
No,
moving forward.
I'm saying if the answer is yes, would the city of Boynton Beach be using taxpayer dollars to campaign either for or against any of these, potential amendments?
No,
I don't,
it would just be educating the citizens that there's an election coming up.
yeah,
Because I know when the county was passing the housing authority bond, they put out signs and things like that, but I think that was from an educational thing. I'm not sure.
Probably from a PAC.
Yeah, we're not going to
Yeah.
take a stance one
That's
way or
what I'm
another. Yeah, it's
saying.
going to be neutral.
Right. No, it's
Okay.
educating that this is,
if
there's an
we
election.
go that
coming up.
direction.
Right,
Anyways, continue. yeah.
okay. So you're done with your presentation, I take it?
That's
For the
just
first ordinance, yeah.
That's just the first one,
Okay.
the preamble.
So any other comments or questions from the board? Since it's our first reading, there's no public comment.
That is correct.
Yeah, because it's the first reading.
Right.
I'm indifferent, we go down this road with a preamble, then it wants to get changed later in the future, I'm indifferent. I can go for it, I can go against it. I don't know if this was gonna be alone on the ballot and there was no other, charter amendment, I would not go for spending taxpayer dollars for a preamble that has no direct effect on anything.
Right.
Besides of like, hey, this is what we're gonna do.
This one should have
You
been
know what I
last,
mean?
is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
so
Right. Yeah.
I think that's actually a great point, Commissioner Kelly. I think I would address this if we move forward with anything else that would be discussed. If this is the lone thing that's going to be on a ballot referendum, I'm not going to be in favor of utilizing taxpayer dollars to get this on a ballot.
I agree.
In that case, then, why don't we table it until we address the other charter amendments, and then we can come back and address whether or not we do.
Motion to table.
Second.
We have a motion. Okay, so we're just good.
No, so you have to vote on.
Oh, so this is a vote, okay. So we have a motion to table, which one is this? 25037, right?
Yeah,
And do
10D.
we have a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Now, moving on to the next one, I will turn to the clerk to read 10C into the record.
Proposed ordinance number 25-038, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, submitting to referendum amendments to the city charter, amending section 3 to require continuous residence within the city for at least 1 year prior to filing to run for office, providing for a notice of an advertisement of the referendum elections to be published in accordance with the State of Florida Election Code, providing for providing that this ordinance, when adopted, shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the city of Boynton Beach, Florida on March 2026 general municipal election ballot, and shall become effective as provided by law, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Okay, is there a presentation? Or is it pretty?
I have the same
cut and dry?
PowerPoint for each one of these
Yeah, it's-
ordinances, if IT can pull that up. All this is doing is adding the word continuously into the charter, section 3. Right now, we already require that you need to be a resident for 1 year to run for an election. This is just requiring continuous residency.
In the next slide.
There we go.
If you guys can just leave the PowerPoint up, please, that would be great. Thank you.
I still would like to see it be 2 years.
I agree. I would like to see 2 years. I think that's fair. I think living in the city continuously 2 years is a commitment to then be committed to managing, $1/3 of $1 billion budget, let alone adopt policy, that affects the whole city. I do understand the legal implications that could incur because of prior rulings. So it's interesting because there are other municipalities that do have this, that haven't been challenged, so I would definitely like to see 2 years. My only hesitation is that, and again, I don't know the chances of this happening, is if that were to be challenged and then it were to be litigated, would that then eliminate any continuous residency requirement that we try to enforce?
Again.
Just start over again.
Mhm.
So that is my only hesitation, of moving to 2 years. I want 2 years, but I don't want to move forward with 2 years to then be litigated and then ultimately lose that requirement, and that's the end result. Then we're back to square one, and we're doing this all over again. Shauna, I don't know if you have any additional input, but from the research I've gathered, it's been...
I do have a memo. I believe I provided it to you with regard to the possible challenge with regard to this. If there was a challenge, we'd have to wait until the end of that challenge and then immediately enact an ordinance requiring 1 year. But the challenger, however long they had lived in the city, would then be allowed to run. So there, for that election, there would be a gap until we could get something back on the books. We could try, I just thought of this out of the box, must live 2 years, but in no circumstances can it be less than 1 year. The problem with that is the court is not going to just strike the one unconstitutional portion. It's going to strike the entire thing. So that's just how, it's a commission decision as to how risk adverse you are and whether you want to spend money to possibly fight that out in courts. That's completely up to you.
I don't want to raise taxes and spend money in court. That could be endless. However, I think that there might be an opportunity if the commission wants to move forward with having the 1 year requirement with continuous residency and maybe establishing an ordinance for 2 years and seeing how the courts, and then if they do, no,
You
either way.
can't do that because your ordinances have to be in compliance with your charter.
Okay.
Well, I don't have a problem with the 1 year. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's not broken.
Continuous would be the word
Yeah,
that's added.
continuous.
Yeah, I think the continuous part is the kicker because we've had instances where somebody has moved in 3 months before an election, but because they've used their parents' address for 10 years, they've gotten around it. And so I think that we have, the continuously has to be in there. I agree that I would rather it be more. Because, but at the same time, if you haven't lived in the city and you don't know the city and you don't really know what is important to the residents, then are you really going to be the best candidate on a ballot either? And the residents choose who really represents the city. And so, in my experience, the residents who have run campaigns that have lived here multiple years are the ones that, get support by the residents. And so I think we kind of, I think it's important to have the word continuously, but I think by nature, people choose people who, to support people who really do love and live in our city. So those are just my sense on that. Thank you.
I completely agree with you, Commissioner Kelly. And I think the point is, ultimately, the voters will decide, right? And so I think this is a step to filter out any attempts to utilize the role as a, political stepping stone, fly by night, you know what I mean? Or an opportunity, just an opportunity. I'm not going to go there. But anyways, yeah, I think the only question I have as of now with it is what defines continuous residency, right?
and how
So
is it
what is that
verified?
definition? What is that? Because you could have you could be homesteaded, right? But if you're not a homeowner and you're a renter, is that continuous residency? Looking at bills.
Yeah, so what you will be looking at is, electric bills, a lease, and various things like that to show that they will have had continuous residence. If you go on vacation for a month, let's say you go to Europe, but you're still paying your bills in the city and you're still doing those things, that's not going to preclude you from doing that. If you're only here 6 months out of the year and 6 months you're in another state or something like that, then that is going to preclude you from being able to run.
And I think the other thought too is, not just the bills, but I think a lease agreement. Because you could put your name on an electric bill and pay that and, have an auto withdrawal.
No,
right?
we
You could also
have,
do
we
things
have
with
addressed
lease
that.
agreements. There are people that are honest in business and there are people that are not, and so they'll write a lease agreement for whatever, and
Yeah.
it's been seen before.
We have
So
people out there
there's
that
always a
track
potential
them
for.
We have addressed that in our ordinance, which requires the documents you have to show. I don't know if you remember, we require more things now.
Right.
But what we will be look at, and any potential challenger to that person running, because they're the ones who ultimately bring the challenge, they're going to have to show that continuous residence, meaning.
For lease agreements, do we require that they notarize it, so that the date is certain, or it could just be somebody backdating a paper lease agreement?
It could potentially be. I mean, there is no sure-proof way, but, this is a candidate, and if they're going to,
So that being said, I almost feel like as far as identifying the potential loopholes, I think 2-year might be better then. Because if you can backdate a lease agreement 1 year, easy day, it's harder to do that for 2 years. Or try to,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but as a broker, I am only allowed to do a 1-year lease. If it's 2-year, we have to refer to lawyers now. That was changed, something in a real estate seminar that I took about 6 months ago. So that'd be a lawyer doing a 2-year lease.
But if we're requiring multiple documents that show the same exact address, then even if somebody were to backdate a lease, they would have to have a utility bill that has the same dates. They would have to have a driver's license that has the same address. They would have to have, we're requiring multiple forms of confirmation. So I think maybe they could fraudulently sign one document, but I don't think they're gonna go through all of that effort just to get up here.
yeah, I think that's a
I mean, I
good
think,
point. And that's in
and we can
our-
always,
Driver's
if this
license have an
passes,
issue
we can
date?
always strengthen look at the requirements too and make sure we're doing everything that we
Yeah, if this
can.
passes, then
Right.
we'll go back to our ordinance and make sure there aren't any gaps. I do think we already addressed it in the ordinance, but by not having the word continuous, there was a vague area,
Right.
for example.
Okay.
I can go along with the proposed change as written,
Okay?
continuous residency,
Okay.
but for 1 year. We're
Right.
trying to encourage people to run in our city. And many times, we get, you almost got to go out and beg people to run. And so I just feel that it has worked for us this long, and it hasn't really been a big problem. So I like the way it's written there. Add a requirement for continuous residence, and that's it. The rest of it
Second that.
stays the same.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve 25-038, and we have a second. Let's
Second.
turn to, we didn't, I thought you made the second.
Oh, I made the-
Yeah, I thought you made the second. Okay, good.
okay,
And then now roll call. We'll get it right.
I tried to
Commissioner
make a
Kelly?
motion, but then he started talking, so.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin? Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hay?
Yes.
Mayor Shelton?
Yes.
And roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
Okay, moving on. Clerk, can you please read 10D into the record?
Proposed ordinance number 25-039, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, submitting to referendum amendments to the city charter, amending Section 5 to increase the term of elected offices from 3 years to 4 years, to clarify what constitutes a term for purposes of term limits, to provide for a mandatory sit-out period, providing for a notice of an advertisement of the referendum election to be published in accordance with the State of Florida Election Code, providing that this ordinance, when adopted, shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, on the March 2026 general municipal election ballot, and shall become effective as provided by law, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Okay, staff?
I think all the changes were in the title of the ordinance. I won't repeat it. It's been a long meeting.
Yeah. Any comments from the commission?
I have a question. In 2028, it will be time for District 3, I think for the mayor, and for District 1 to be termed out, and then the mayor would be second term if elected again. What does that say for Districts 2 and 4, effective 2028?
They would still have 3-year terms until the new election cycle for each district.
Okay, so it's after the new elections in general.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
My position is that I don't think I'm gonna move forward with this. I don't agree with a 1-year sit-out period requirement. I think you should be sitting out a whole term. I know there's no definition there. I would like to define the sit-out period to be 1 full term. You know, also too, when I look at, you know, there's just a lot of uncertainty. I'm not against this, right? I'm not against this maybe down the line, but what I don't want to happen is not get clarification or understanding that if we do move forward and the voters move forward with this, that then these municipal elections then become hyper-partisan and political, which is my concern and worry, because a lot of times if you allow, you know, if you allow the national to affect the local stuff, you know, I don't know if you get the best representation, so to speak. And so I need more time, I need more research, I need more conversation with the supervisor of elections to move forward with this. The only thing that I could look at maybe is identifying the sit-out period to be a full term. However, you know, if we're looking at all of this collaboratively with these proposed changes, maybe we sit this one out, we do a little bit more research, and we come back for another time is my position on this.
Real quick. So, for instance, as it sits right now, so District 3 and District 1 and the mayor all are elected at the same time. When their term is up, the only seats that they are eligible to run for will not be back up until the next term anyway. Because you can't run for mayor until the next term, and you can't run for your seat again until the next term. I think if you make it that language, then we have to ask the question, well, what about appointments? Then you're going down this whole line. District 2 and District 4 are a little bit different, where but it's still 2 years, like the mayor's seat is then not, the only seat that we're eligible for is either our seat, which is currently 3 years, or possibly the mayor's seat, which is 2 years. So then, so by changing it to terms, you're not really changing much, because you technically are not even eligible to run, because there's no seats you're eligible for, because we have set districts as opposed to being, because this really makes sense when, and you put these specifications, when you have cities like Boca that don't have district commissioners, they are citywide, and so you want people to have to sit out before they can go and run for another district. They're not just bang, bang, bang running for every year. They're running in a new election for another district because a seat opens up. So I'm hesitant to make it that clear, because it by nature of our seats, we kind of impose that we're not eligible to run again until technically our next terms. So it's like we're almost doing that without it being written in there, because that's what we're eligible to run for.
Yeah, and I think that gets convoluted when there are special elections, resignations with different district members. You could even argue the point that maybe different members move to different districts, then they could run, and that I don't think is fair. I don't think,
It's very
because you could
complicated.
essentially, for example, let's say Commissioner Cruz and I, we walk away at the end of our term, then we decide to move to District 4 and District 2 and run. You know what I mean? Is that, like, there's a gray area there where that could essentially be accomplished, and I don't know if that is,
Because don't you have to sit out after you do 2 terms for?
if there's no clarification is what I'm saying, is there's no real, you can only do 2 consecutive terms, right? But then the sit-out period, I mean, you could argue it could be 60 days, and then someone could resign, and then there's a special election, and then you could run for that.
But does this special election actually, because technically, depending on how long the term that's left, a special election, you're getting elected to finish somebody else's term, so it's not even your term. It becomes even more complicated once we
Yeah.
start going down that road.
Well, I'm just going to give my 2 cents, is I'm against extending our term limits at all.
Same.
It becomes very partisan, and I think that, I have almost 25 years of campaigning background, and I know when these things are coming up, and you can look at past elections in other cities, and if they fall on a presidential primary, you will not have a balanced commission, so I'm against this altogether.
I had the opportunity to speak to my constituents about this, and there is absolutely no interest in my district to extend term limits to make them any longer than they currently are. So I'm going to say no to this.
Me too.
There are
And
some,
again, I like to see, this is why they put it the way it is now, because when you start tweaking it this way and that way, it really becomes convoluted. I really would like to see, after a commissioner serve 2 terms, that they are eligible to run for mayor. Okay? They don't have to sit out after they've served their 2 terms if they're running for mayor. Not like you're saying, moving
like Boca does
another
that.
Yeah,
district.
I agree with that.
That's really what brings continuity of leadership, because sometimes, you can have somebody who's done 1 term as commissioner, 1 term as mayor, and then has to leave, and then, there's a new election. So with regard to continuity, I have no interest, for the record. But if anybody else on the day no, thank you. If anybody else wanted to run for mayor in the future, I think that that's really continuity of leadership, because it really allows for somebody who's sat on this chair for 3 years and knows how to read ordinances, what to look for, it really comes with experience to really be able to move forward and take that further step, the higher level step, if the person was interested.
can I make a suggestion
Again.
real quick? I think
I would like to I'd like to propose to Commissioner Hayes' idea, looking at allowing that term for a term for mayoralship.
I can,
Yeah.
My suggestion, we take out increasing it to the 4 years, right? I think I hear a consensus that you don't want that. I would like to clarify that serving more than one half of your term of a full term contemplates a complete term for purposes of term limits.
Right.
Right? So that, let's say someone is injured or whatever, and it's not fair for a person to serve 1 month of that person's term and then that count as a full term. So I think we should clarify that. And then what we can do in terms of the sit-out period, that if you're running for your same seat, your sit-out period is for 1 term. If you are running for a mayor or a different district, then you do not have to sit out unless running for a different position. For example, if the mayor decides she wants to become just a commissioner, because if you only say mayoral, then the mayor can only be commissioner. So that's what I'm saying. And if you are for that, I could come up with a motion to change that language before the second reading.
Well, but the way that our terms are now, there isn't an opportunity for a commissioner to finish their 2 terms and immediately run for mayor because of the way that we have them set up. Because the mayor is the same, so then that would put, if that's the case, then that would put, let's say, Commissioner Turkin would then have to resign from his seat to run for mayor, I'm guessing, because it's the same election. Those 3 seats are up at the same time, so then, as it's set right now, then we're running into this situation where if this is somebody up here that is in that seat, then wants to run for mayor, they're resigning to run in their seat to then run for the mayor's seat. The way that maybe we can look at other cities and see how they do it. And, and this charter review committee is ongoing and will be ongoing, so maybe it's something that we can revisit as far as that portion goes, because I'm not opposed to that. I think that, I think there's a consensus that brings continuity to the board and to have that availability if somebody wants to take that option. Because right now, District 3 and District 1 would have to sit out an entire term to run for mayor because their seats are up at the same time.
Let me ask a question here. For as long as I can remember, District 2 and District 4 has always come in and out together. I'm term limited March of 2026. But Commissioner Kelly from District 4 will still be serving. Okay? Have we implemented where if you are serving out someone else's term, that doesn't count against you as a term? Because if that is so, then she should be coming out at the same time I do. I'm trying to get clarity.
I think it depends on the timeframe that you serve.
I'm not pointing fingers
So
at
if it's
anybody.
over a
I
year.
just want clarity.
And I will explain, let me explain. Traditionally, what has happened when someone has been appointed, they have not been term limited, right? That's the way it's been treated in the past.
But if you serve over a year, then it's
Correct.
a full term.
All I'm suggesting with this is that we make that clear as to how much time will count as a full term. Because so the charter committee came up with, if you serve more than half of the person's term, then it counts as a full term. If you serve less, then it does not. And that's why it was suggested to put it in the charter so it's clear, because it's not clear in the charter. It's just looked at historically, what's been done historically.
Okay.
It sits now, there's no clarity.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's open, which I agree. If you're appointed for a year, that shouldn't count as a whole term.
Right.
I personally don't think so, and I think a lot of people in the city wouldn't think so. I'm talking to many residents, and they're, oh, you're in your second term, what's next, mayor? I'm like, no, because we're term limited, right? I hear that all the time, and I think it's a good idea to look at what other cities do. I can understand. I think we need to identify what a term is, because then that's how you identify the sit-out period, right? But I'm open to exploring and seeing what other municipalities do, because I think there is a basis of collaboration, not just amongst the body, but the body and staff. You know, I know staff, I might not admit it, was super frustrated with me my first term because I didn't really know how things worked. I didn't know how things operated, being new to public service. And so, you know, it's they work with, you know, an elected member of the commission, you know, they assist them, and then, you know, then it gets to that second term, and then, you know, obviously we know government takes a long, whatever. And allowing that opportunity that Commissioner Hay mentioned of running for mayor after you've served 2 terms, which I agree with, not like the if rather than, but if you serve 2 terms, then you can run for mayor. I could get behind that. Ultimately, that's going to be the voters' decision. And if the voters don't like a commissioner, they will vote them out, or they won't vote them as mayor.
Right.
And so I think that's the ultimate understanding here is, you know, this body's not saying, hey, you can do this, you can do this. We're going to give the residents the opportunity to elect someone that has, you know, represented them well and has created transformative change within the city. So, I mean, I don't know what everyone else thinks of maybe just looking at that based on what consensus is.
Well, the question is, the bigger question is whether you want us to look into this going forward for a future referendum item that, or between first and second reading.
I think there has to be more discussion than that, but I'm comfortable with the suggestions that you made about the other parts. It's just it was the 3 to 4 year term. I think that there was a consensus that people didn't. But I mean,
And then-
maybe I'm wrong, but I
Well,
think.
okay, so if
It's
I understand you correctly, delete the part about increasing the term. Clarify that serving more than 1/2 of a full term constitutes a complete term for purposes of term limits. Require a mandatory sit-out period of a term?
Yes. Because a term is then defined as 18 months.
Oh,
If
or 3
you're
years.
looking at a term being the sit-out period, then it's 18 months. Because you have to define what a term is in order to call it a term, I think.
What,
Right.
yeah, well, whether, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, but like a term, as it sits right now, and I think this is why there's a problem, is because right now, in order to run for mayor, you're sitting out a term because the seat's not open, so it's like it's a term, it ends up being 3 years that you're sitting out, because that's the full term when the seat's up,
If you're in that district.
or for mayor.
Yeah, right.
Right,
This is getting very confusing.
yeah.
Very confusing.
Maybe we should have put this on the agenda at the beginning of the night.
I'll make a move to table the
Who's
item.
on first? That's what I feel like. I'm
All I'm saying is, if you table this item, it will not go on this referendum, because it has to be put to the supervisor of
Then let's-
elections by December.
I'm
Let's
okay with
table
that.
it and get it
Great.
right.
Leave it alone.
Table it and get it right.
If it
Yep.
Motion to table.
Table it. Motion
So-
to table.
Motion to table, do we have a second?
Second.
Made the motion.
Oh, see, like, we can't even process. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Oh, no,
Aye.
roll
Aye.
call.
Oh, roll call.
No,
Roll
not
call,
for,
no.
not for
Okay,
a
we're doing
table.
well.
For
Not for a
table.
table. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, we are good to go. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously to table it. Okay, moving on. Let's see. 10E into the record.
Proposed ordinance number 25-040, first reading ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, submitting to referendum amendments to the city charter, amending section 20 to clarify the form of government, require a supermajority vote for the appointment and removal of the city manager and city attorney, and clarifying the duties and responsibilities of the city manager and commissioners, providing for a notice of an advertisement of the referendum election to be published in accordance with the state of Florida election code, providing that this Ordinance, when adopted, shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the city of Boynton Beach, Florida on the March 2026 general municipal election ballot and shall become effective as provided by law, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Okay, staff?
Mayor, staff recommends this item also be tabled.
Yeah, I'm gonna, my opinion on this is that I think for this specific referendum, these are the two high-profile positions in the city. And I don't feel that this change should be on a ballot this should be on a citywide ballot where there's a mayoral election so that we can ensure that there is fair participation and maximize that participation. As we know, Boynton Beach usually only turns out about 10 to 12% of its voters when in municipal elections. Yes.
I'm sorry, there are some other things in this other than just that I just wanted to tell you why the Charter Review Committee wanted it in there. Some of the Charter Review Committee felt as though this part, the Section 20, doesn't really spell out what a city commission versus city manager's job is. So this does that. It says, the city commission is the legislative and policy-making body of the city, and the city manager essentially runs the city at the discretion of the city commission. You could remove, I hear what you're saying about the 4-1 vote. That's fine, that can be removed. But then it also addresses the firing of assistant city managers, that firing or termination of them would have to be subject of the city commission's approval, whether you want that or not, and defines the city manager's administrative and prohibits individual commissioners directing or interfering with staff. So it clarifies that. They felt that it needed that. I have no opinion either way. I just wanted to let you know the other things it does other than the 4-1 vote.
I think a lot of those last 2 points are in the charter already. Yeah. So, do we need to put that on the ballot if they're already on the charter already?
They felt as though it was unclear. For someone who is not in government, they felt as though Section 20 did not provide sufficient explanation of how our city is run.
The language is almost identical.
I'm
Yeah.
just-
I don't think there's a
I'm
need
just,
to.
don't kill the messenger, please.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking on behalf of the committee.
Yeah, I think, Commissioner Turkin, I think I agree with you. I think this is too powerful to put on this election, especially if we end up being a mail-in election. I'm fine with just, since 2 out of the 3 points are already in there almost verbatim, maybe a little bit different, then we can just push this off until the next election completely. Because if the other 2 were to just slightly different, then that's something that can be clarified when we actually do the main part of this charter. So that's my position on that. I support you on that.
Is there a motion?
I'll make motion to table.
Second. We have a motion to table and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. And we are now moving on to 10F. Into the record, please, Mealy.
Proposed ordinance number 25-041, first reading ordinance of the city of Boynton Beach, Florida, submitting to referendum amendments to the city charter, amending sections 8, 20, 23, 24, 40, 50, 52, 54, and 55 to modernize language by replacing masculine-only pronouns and to update notice and publication requirements to comply with the current Florida statutes and digital age communication practices, providing for a notice of an advertisement of the referendum election to be published in accordance with the State of Florida Election Code, providing that this ordinance, when adopted, shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the city of Boynton Beach, Florida, on the March 2026 general municipal election ballot, and shall become effective as provided by law, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Does it
This is
even
pretty
need
easy
to be a
one.
presentation? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this just shows like how, this is why we have a charter committee, right? There's some outdated,
Right.
you know, I think a lot is addressing like the city attorney and city manager as he.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
this is easy day.
Yeah, it does
My
some
mind's
other,
like 95% on this one.
it doesn't, I just do some other things. It changes some of the digital communication methods to allow for email and stuff like that before, everything had to be mailed or whatever. So it updates that.
Publication,
And-
yeah.
And it also complies with the current Florida statutes with regard to municipal elections because municipal elections used to be held in November, so we did find there was a section that was still, well, we thought, I don't know. It does something. It fixes that too.
Okay.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Second?
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. All those, nope, it's a roll call. Here we go.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Turkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hay.
Yes.
Mayor Shelton.
Yes.
And roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
Okay, does anyone have any final comments for
Are
tonight?
we going to motion to remove 10B?
No, we need to go back to 10,
Preamble.
10A.
10A?
10B.
10B.
Is that,
10B.
oh, that is B.
I'm fine.
Yes.
Motion to remove 10B from the table.
Second.
We have a motion to remove 10B
Yes.
from the table, and we have a second.
Yes. Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously to untable.
Can we go back to the slide that has the preamble on it?
I think it's a generic enough preamble that that won't expire. I don't think it'll, I think it's fine. And since we have other things going, I think it's a good test in how the public looks at it.
I don't have any issues with it. Kind of neutral on it. I see that, it was good intent to put it on there. It's not overly political. It's just basic.
Yeah, and it's with other things on the ballot, which I'm okay with. This
It doesn't
alone, I
cost,
don't know if I
it doesn't
want
cost any more money to put it on the ballot.
Right, right.
And I think that, we all selected a charter review committee, and we should give them a little bit of credit. It does say, the citizens of the city of Boynton Beach, they, kind of helped, amend some of these charter amendments, so I think it kind of gives them kind of a tribute to their commitment to what they did, so I'm good with it. Motion to.
Proof. Go ahead.
Motion to approve 10B.
Second.
We have a motion to approve 10B, and we have a second, so now it's a roll call.
Commissioner Kelly.
Oh, yes.
Commissioner Turkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz. Vice
Yes.
Mayor Hay.
Oh, yes.
Mayor Shelton.
Yes.
And a roll call vote, the motion passed unanimously.
Okay, does anybody have anything further?
Nope, I just want to thank former Mayor Jared Taylor, seeing him here. He was
Making it all
Yeah.
night.
Yes.
Thank you,
You're a
George.
for the
trooper.
Charter Committee, so
Yeah.
thank you for being
Thank you
here.
to the charter committee. They
Yes.
deserve a
Yeah.
The charter committee.
Motion
lunch or
to,
something.
Outstanding.
have a second. All those in
Second.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Whoa, meeting's over. Have a good night. I
that
don't even
was
know what
big.
happened
That
there.
was dramatic.